No. If this continues, I will surely die here. It seems I won't be able to kill this kid today. It's best to leave first. After several exchanges, Qin Yong finally felt fear. The effects of the blood-burst pill were about to disappear, and he couldn't care less about killing Qin Chen. With a shake of his body, he was about to rush towards the distant high wall and leave this place. Stay. How could Zhao Li let Qin Yong leave? Following Qin Chen's instructions, his battle blade transformed into a sky full of blade shadows, densely enveloping Qin Yong. You think you can stop me? Qin Yong was furious. This Zhao Li was too arrogant. Did he really think he could stop him? His body was like a Zhao dragon. He threw out his fists, and the sound of explosive punches echoed, shattering all the blade light Zhao Li had unleashed. Zhao Li himself fell from the top of the wall, his aura weak. Qin Chen, I'll spare your dog life for now, but I'll kill you another day. Before leaving, Qin Yong looked towards Qin Chen's location and said ferociously. Immediately, his expression froze. Where is he? The position where Qin Chen was previously was now empty. I'm over here. A ghostly voice suddenly sounded. Qin Yong turned his head in horror and discovered that Qin Chen had somehow arrived on top of the wall, staring at him with a cold gaze and a sneer on his lips. The next moment, die. The battle blade in Qin Chen's hand suddenly unsheathed, and a pitch-black blade light erupted in the night, cutting through the void. Poochie. Qin Yong widened his eyes in shock and anger, wanting to dodge, but it was already too late. He could only watch as the battle blade sliced through his head, sending his large head soaring into the sky, blood spraying nearly 10 feet high. Thump! A headless corpse fell from the wall, crashing heavily onto the ground. After a moment, Qin Yong's head rolled onto the ground, his eyes wide with shock and anger even in death. Dead. Dead. In the courtyard, Zhao Li and the many city guard team members stared blankly at this scene, unable to believe their eyes for a moment. A late-stage peak Earth realm martial artist, a strong man even Commander Zhao Li couldn't defeat, was actually killed by Qin Chen. Everyone looked at Qin Chen as if they had seen a ghost. Thank you all for your help tonight. If it weren't for you all, I'm afraid I would have been in danger. I thank you all here first. Qin Chen flew down from the top of the wall and cupped his hands towards Zhao Li and the others. If it weren't for Zhao Li and the others arriving in time, he probably wouldn't have been able to keep Qin Yong here so easily today. No, it's nothing. Zhao Li and the others waved their hands repeatedly. What a joke. They saw clearly how Qin Yong died. If it weren't for Qin Chen, they would have all died at Qin Yong's hands. No wonder King Kang would care so much about this young man. It is said that this child is only 15 this year and has just won the championship in this year's Heavenly Star Academy entrance exam. As expected, geniuses are born young. At such a young age, he actually has such insight and cultivation. His future is definitely limitless. Thinking of this, Zhao Li and the others couldn't help but become even more respectful towards Qin Chen. If they were only following King Kang's instructions at the beginning, then now, their respect for Qin Chen was clearly from the bottom of their hearts. Great kindness needs no thanks. I will remember your help today and will definitely repay you in the future. Qin Chen said indifferently. He was a person who clearly distinguished between gratitude and grudges. He repaid kindness with kindness and grudges with grudges. Hee. Young Master Chen, you're joking. As the deputy commander of the city guard, preventing evil deeds from happening in the royal capital is my duty. Zhao Li waved his hands repeatedly. In his opinion, Qin Chen was just a teenager. How could he possibly repay him? It was enough as long as he could leave a good impression in the other party's heart. But then he heard Qin Chen say with a smile, Commander Zhao, don't be in such a hurry to refuse. If I'm not mistaken, Commander Zhao should have suffered damage to his meridians when he was trying to break through to the Heaven Realm, which has caused his cultivation to not improve at all these years, right? Next time I have time, I can help Commander Zhao heal you. What? Commander Zhao's eyeballs suddenly widened, and his heart was like a stormy sea, as if he had seen a ghost. Back then, he did have quite a reputation in the city guard and was known as the deputy commander who was most likely to break through to the Heaven Realm. However, 5 years ago, during a hasty attempt to break through to the Heaven Realm, he suffered damage to his meridians, and since then, his cultivation has not improved at all. Over the years, he had also looked for many alchemists, but none of them could solve his problem. In fact, many people couldn't even analyze where his illness was. Over time, he himself had despaired and given up. Unexpectedly, now, Qin Chen revealed the secret hidden in his heart in one breath. How could he not be surprised? Young Master Chen, my injury, is it really curable? Suddenly, Commander Zhao could no longer restrain the ecstasy in his heart and said with a face full of surprise. Meridian damage is not a terminal illness, how can it not be cured? Qin Chen said with a smile. Commander Zhao was so excited that he couldn't control himself and didn't know what to say. Please trouble Commander Zhao to clean up the courtyard. Yes. Zhao Li was full of energy, as if he had rejuvenated, and hurriedly called his subordinates to carry out the corpses lying all over the courtyard and arrange them neatly. Qin Chen then hurriedly walked towards his mother's room. The commotion outside was so loud just now, but there was no movement in his mother's room at all. Could something have happened? Qin Chen was extremely anxious. Before he could push the door open, Qin Yuqi's room suddenly opened. Chenair, just now mother heard fighting sounds outside. Are you all right? Qin Yuqi was standing at the door, as if she had just woken up, with a hint of drowsiness on her face. Then, seeing Commander Zhao and the others in the courtyard, she asked in confusion, who are they? Could it be that mother was previously knocked out by a sleeping drug? Qin Chen carefully sniffed, but his mother didn't seem to have the smell of sleeping drugs on her body. Moreover, the actions of Shadow 7 and Shadow 3 just now were under his surveillance, and they had no chance to use sleeping drugs at all, but... Puzzled in his heart, Qin Chen said, Mother, just now Qin Yong brought a few thugs in, wanting to do bad things to mother and me. Fortunately, Commander Zhao arrived and brought these thugs to justice in time. What? Qin Yong? Qin Yuqi's face immediately showed anger when she saw Qin Yong's head in the courtyard. Zhao Feng, what a vicious heart she has. Immediately, she asked nervously, Chenair, are you all right? Don't worry, mother, I'm fine, Qin Chen said with a smile. At this time, Zhao Li and the others had already cleaned up the courtyard. The corpses of the many assassins were lined up in a row, and several city guard members were pointing, seemingly discussing something. Commander Zhao, do you recognize these people? Qin Chen asked. Young Master Chen, these are all assassins from the Shadow Kill Tower. Zhao Li's face carried a hint of solemnity as he said, the Shadow Kill Tower is a very famous assassin organization in our northern 5 kingdoms, living by assassination. The royal families of our northern 5 kingdoms all want to eliminate them quickly, but the Shadow Kill Tower is very secretive, and no one knows its headquarters, so it has been impossible to eradicate it. Taking a deep breath, Zhao Li continued, the assassins of the Shadow Kill Tower are divided into 3 levels, A, B, and C. The ones you encountered should be C-level assassins from the Shadow Kill Tower, but even so, these assassins have at least assassinated several martial artists of the same level as themselves before they can be rated as C-level assassins. Moreover, I heard that the Shadow Kill Tower is very tyrannical and protective of its own, so young Master Chen, you must be more careful in the future. Zhao Li finished speaking in one breath, his gaze fixed on Qin Chen with a peculiar expression. The Shadow Kill Pavilion's rank C assassins were at least at the early stage of the Earth Realm, and each of them possessed terrifying methods, requiring even him to exercise extreme caution when facing them. Yet, these assassins had all died in young Master Chen's courtyard, and judging by the looks of it, they were killed with a single blow, without even a chance to resist. How exactly did these assassins die? Thinking of this, Zhao Li felt even more apprehensive towards Qin Chen. Shadow Kill Pavilion. I understand. Qin Chen nodded, secretly remembering it in his heart. He didn't have time to deal with this now, but when his strength improved in the future, he would definitely let them know the consequences of assassinating him. Killing him wouldn't be that easy. Knowing that such a serious assassination attempt had occurred, Zhao Li didn't dare to neglect it. After dragging the assassins' bodies out, he immediately sent someone to report to Prince Kang. After settling his mother down, Qin Chen looked at Qin Yong's head and suddenly had an idea, a cold smile appearing on the corner of his mouth. Then, he wrapped up Qin Yong's head, put on a night suit, and quietly left the mansion. Qin Mansion. Brightly lit. Zhao Feng sat in the living room, calmly waiting for news. Mother, why hasn't any news arrived yet? Could Qin Yong have failed? Qin Fen, wrapped in bandages, waited anxiously, speaking with some impatience. Fenner, don't be anxious. What has mother taught you? In the face of great events, remain calm and learn from your elder brother, unshaken even when Mount Qishan collapses before you. Although Zhao Feng was also quite anxious while waiting, she couldn't help but educate her child. Yes, mother, I understand, but I just want to hear the news of Qin Chen's death sooner. Qin Fen's face was filled with a grim expression. With the slightest movement, a sharp pain would surge through his body, making him grit his teeth, wishing he could chop off his own head. Fenner, don't worry. Although Qin Yong is just a house slave, he won't fail when dealing with a little brat. The reason for the delay is definitely because he's making ample preparations. Zhao Feng explained. She still had full confidence in Qin Yong. After all, she was very clear that Qin Yong had even enlisted the Shadow Kill Pavilion to deal with Qin Chen. With the Shadow Kill Pavilion's assassins taking action, plus Qin Yong himself, not to mention a mere Qin Yuqi and her daughter, even 10 of them would be dead beyond dead. Yes, mother. Seeing his mother so confident, Qin Fen was also infected, and his heart immediately calmed down a lot. The thought of hearing the news of Qin Chen's demise soon filled Qin Fen's heart with excitement, as if the pain on his body had lessened a lot, and the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Bang! Just then, a muffled sound suddenly came from outside the door, as if someone had heavily slammed the door. What's going on? Zhao Feng frowned and said to Rouge beside her, Rouge, go and take a look. Yes, madam. Rouge stepped forward and opened the door, only to see that the night outside was dark and gloomy, without anything at all. Strange. Why is no one there? Rouge muttered, sticking her head out and looking around for a long time, but she didn't find anything. Just as she was about to retreat, she suddenly saw some black things scattered in front of the threshold. What's this? She lowered her head and took a closer look, and was immediately startled. Blood. It's blood. Rouge gasped, hurriedly looking up, only to see a head suddenly hanging down from above the door, staring at her with wide eyes. Fresh blood kept dripping from his neck. Who else could it be but Qin Yong? Ah! Step! 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 A scream tore through the silent night sky. Rouge was so frightened that she fell to the ground, her face pale, screaming in horror. She scrambled back into the house, trembling all over, and collapsed in front of Zhao Feng. Rouge, what on earth is going on? What are you screaming about? Hearing Rouge's terrified screams, Madame Zhao was also startled, and then seeing Rouge's disheveled appearance, she immediately reprimanded in a cold voice. Madam, it's Qin Yong. Steward Qin. Rouge trembled, her face pale, unable to speak properly, her lips constantly quivering. What? Qin Yong is back. Then what are you screaming about? Why don't you bring him in to see me? Zhao Feng scolded. No, not. Rouge waved her hand, panting, her eyes full of fear, unable to say anything. What not? Madame Zhao's anger rose. What was wrong with this Rouge? She usually seemed quite efficient, but at critical moments, she always messed up. Mother, Steward Qin is back. I'll go and let him in. Qin Fen, who had been waiting impatiently for a long time, endured the severe pain and walked out. All right. Mother will go with you. Madame Zhao also stood up. The two of them came to the hall together, and instantly saw Qin Yong's head hanging upside down on the door. His face was ferocious, like a vengeful ghost, and his pale eyes stared fixedly at Zhao Feng and Qin Fen. Ah! Zhao Feng and Qin Fen gasped, exclaiming in unison, almost falling to the ground. Someone, come quickly. The shrill shouts, like the wails of wild ghosts, instantly resounded throughout the Qin family mansion, echoing in the silent night sky. HMPH. Zhao Feng, this is a small gift for you. You wait. Today's matter will not be let go so easily. In a dark corner outside the Qin mansion, hearing the commotion coming from the mansion, Qin Chen's mouth curled into a cold smile, his figure swayed, and he quickly disappeared into the darkness. That night, the Qin mansion was unable to sleep. especially Zhao Feng and the others, who were extremely shocked and angry. They learned that Qin Yong and the assassins sent to Qin Chen's house had been completely annihilated. Now Qin Chen's mansion had been taken over by the city guards, and they had no second chance. After Qin Yuanhong learned the news, he only sighed. He knew that a shocking earthquake would inevitably be triggered tomorrow, and he had to carefully consider how to explain all this to the outside world. But what made him even more apprehensive was Qin Yong's death. The Qin family was very clear about Qin Yong's strength. Unless a heavenly realm expert took action, ordinary people would not be able to kill him at all. But now, Qin Yong had died in Qin Chen's house. Could it be that there was a heavenly realm expert secretly protecting Qin Chen? All of this made Qin Yuanhong and Zhao Feng and others' minds flutter, unable to sleep all night. At the same time, Qin Chen's second uncle, Qin Yuanzi, also learned some news, and came to Qin Yuanhong's room as soon as possible. The two argued for a long time. In the end, Qin Yuanzi declared that if Qin Chen and Qin Yuqi had the slightest accident, he, Qin Yuanzi, would never give up, and this matter must be notified to their father. The two sides parted on bad terms. Qin Chen naturally didn't know everything that happened in the Qin family. After returning, he changed rooms. With Zhao Li and the others guarding him, he felt very at ease and slept soundly all night. The next day, at the crack of dawn, Zhang Ying and Lin Qian were already knocking on Qin Chen's door. "Young Master Chen, we heard that your home was attacked yesterday. Are you all right?" The two of them rushed in, anxiously looking around. Seeing Qin Chen's ravaged room, they were both furious. The Qin family is going too far. You are clearly a member of the Qin family, yet they want to drive you to such an extreme. It's simply outrageous. Don't be nervous, I'm fine. But where did you get this news from? Qin Chen asked, his eyes still half closed with sleep. Young Master Chen, don't you know? The entire royal capital now knows about the Qin Mansion's steward attacking you. The Qin Mansion's steward brought Shadow Kill Pavilion assassins to attack you. This matter has already alarmed the Emperor. His Majesty has decreed that the culprit must be found. If anyone is found to be colluding with Shadow Kill Pavilion, they will not be tolerated. The Qin Mansion is now in complete chaos. Yes, it is said that after Dean Chu Weiken received the news of your assassination, he went to beat the sacred drum of alarm early in the morning, before dawn. Prince Kang accompanied him. Zhang Ying and Lin Qian spoke one after the other. Qin Chen immediately understood that Prince Kang must have done all of this for him. Your cultivations. Suddenly, Qin Chen looked at Lin Qian and Zhang Ying, his eyes startled. During yesterday's grand examination, their cultivations were only at the mid-stage of the human realm. After only a day apart, their cultivations had actually improved quite a bit, which greatly shocked Qin Chen. Young Master Chen, you noticed. We don't know why either, but ever since we started cultivating the few cultivation incantations you gave us, the speed at which the true qi in our bodies condenses is several times faster than before. Our cultivations are increasing every day. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying said excitedly. That's not right. Qin Chen frowned slightly. The cultivation methods he gave the two were a very common type in the martial domain, and he had also incorporated some of their characteristics. Although it could indeed increase their cultivation speed, it shouldn't have been to such an exaggerated extent. Come here, both of you, let me take a look. As Qin Chen spoke, he placed his right hand on their bodies, carefully sensing. He immediately sensed that there seemed to be a mysterious power activated within their bodies, emitting a surging aura. Qin Chen's eyes narrowed. He looked at Lin Qian and Zhang Ying in surprise. Could it be that they had special bloodlines hidden within them? This kind of situation usually occurred because the hidden bloodline within the body was activated. Other than that, Qin Chen couldn't think of any other reason. Young Master Chen, are we having any problems? Seeing Qin Chen's solemn expression, Lin Qian and Zhang Ying immediately said nervously. Now, the two of them admired Qin Chen to the point of prostration, and obeyed his every word. It's nothing. Seeing the two so nervous, Qin Chen immediately smiled. He would examine the two of them later, and perhaps he would know the reason. Let's go. After eating breakfast, Qin Chen walked outside. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying quickly said, young Master Chen, you were just assassinated yesterday. It's really too unsafe outside now. Why don't you stay at home and wait for His Majesty to investigate the real culprit before deciding? Don't worry, the outside isn't as unsafe as you think. In broad daylight, who would dare to make a move in the royal capital? Lin Qian and Zhang Ying thought about it and felt that what Qin Chen said made sense, so they followed. By the way, where are we going? Halfway there, the two said curiously. To buy something, Qin Chen said with a smile. Before long, the three arrived in front of a luxurious building. The entire building was carved with jade railings, extremely luxurious, with an air of wealth that naturally emanated, overshadowing all the surrounding buildings. The entire building was 7 stories high. Above the huge lintel hung a large plaque with the 3 characters, Gathering Treasure Pavilion, written on it. Hiss. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying gasped, young Master Chen, what are we doing here? The Gathering Treasure Pavilion was the most prominent treasure store in the Great Qi Kingdom's royal capital. It was said that treasures were everywhere here, with everything one could want. The number of treasures was enough to rival the Great Qi Kingdom's royal family. Those who could enter this place were all dignitaries, powerful people, and influential figures. Although Lin Qian and Zhang Ying's families also had some fame in the royal capital and belonged to large households, they could only be ranked in the middle class and had naturally never been to this Gathering Treasure Pavilion. Now, seeing Qin Chen bring them to this Gathering Treasure Pavilion, they were immediately shocked. Young Master Chen wouldn't want to buy something at this Gathering Treasure Pavilion, would he? It was said that in this Gathering Treasure Pavilion, any treasure was worth tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of silver coins. The money they had on them wasn't even enough to buy a scrap. Even their fathers probably hadn't been to this Gathering Treasure Pavilion a few times. Thinking of this, the two felt a little timid in their hearts. Coming to the Gathering Treasure Pavilion, of course, is to buy something. Qin Chen said with a smile. Young Master Chen, what do you want to buy? Why don't we change stores? I know some shops on the street that have good quality and low prices, and they are also very good. The two said uneasily. Qin Chen shook his head. The Gathering Treasure Pavilion was the leading treasure store in the Great Qi Kingdom's royal capital. His trip was to prepare to buy a treasured sword. Qin Yong's attack last night made him feel a strong sense of crisis, so he wanted to buy a weapon for self-defense. With Qin Chen's vision, the weapons in ordinary weapon shops could not satisfy him at all. Coming to this Gathering Treasure Pavilion was already a great compromise. At the entrance of the Gathering Treasure Pavilion, several shop assistants were standing there, welcoming guests. Each shop assistant was dressed in bright and beautiful clothes. As shop assistants of the Gathering Treasure Pavilion, they were considered important figures in the royal capital. Therefore, these shop assistants looked down on people when they were outside. These shop assistants were also very knowledgeable, knowing which people were rich and had enough money to buy treasures, and which people were just coming to broaden their horizons. Well, looking at the 3 young men at the door now, the few people knew at a glance that they were here to broaden their horizons. Although the clothes worn by the 3 people should also be disciples of wealthy families. But looking at the materials, they were only from ordinary wealthy families. It was impossible to spend money in the Gathering Treasure Pavilion. After all, even the young Marquis level was not affordable for everyone in the Gathering Treasure Pavilion. Therefore, seeing Qin Chen and the others come forward, the attitudes of the few shop assistants at the Gathering Treasure Pavilion were very arrogant. However, according to the rules of the Gathering Treasure Pavilion, guests who came to the door had to be served. Even guests who they thought had no spending power could not be neglected. What a nuisance. Forget it, I'll take my bad luck. The shop assistant who was assigned muttered in his mouth, then put on a smiling face and walked up enthusiastically. The 3 distinguished guests, I don't know what you want to buy at my Gathering Treasure Pavilion. Our Gathering Treasure Pavilion is the leading treasure store in the Great Qi Kingdom. Just tell us what you want to buy. As long as the money is in place, our Gathering Treasure Pavilion guarantees your satisfaction. The shop assistant led the 3 inside, smiling as he spoke. However, although his smile was very natural, Zhang Ying and Lin Qian still felt a hint of arrogance from it. What does he mean by as long as the money is in place? Isn't he clearly saying that they don't have enough money? Would a shop assistant dare to say such a thing to real distinguished guests? If there were only Lin Qian and Zhang Ying, the two of them would have turned around and left in shame long ago, but young Master Chen insisted on coming here, so they could only follow with a hard face. We'll just take a look first. Qin Chen didn't think as much as Lin Qian and Zhang Ying, and said indifferently. As soon as one entered the hall of the Treasure Convergence Tower, an aura of wealthiness naturally emanated. The Treasure Convergence Tower truly lived up to its reputation as the foremost treasure store in the Great Qi Kingdom. Inside, it was resplendent with gold and jade, and customers dressed in silk and satin were everywhere. The entire Treasure Convergence Tower was divided into numerous sections such as pills, medicinal herbs, weapons, materials, cultivation methods, and so on. Each section displayed different items, allowing everyone to make purchases according to their needs. The entire first-floor hall was filled with a dazzling array of goods, leaving Lin Qian and Zhang Ying completely bewildered. Hiss! This is the Treasure Convergence Tower. Look! Qi gathering pills, blood coagulation pills, compassionate heart pills, all kinds of pills are available. It's simply amazing. I bet it's comparable to the pill pavilion. Passing by a pill counter, Zhang Ying couldn't help but gasp when he saw the pills inside. Martial artists need pills for cultivation, but the price of pills is extremely expensive. Even the most basic first-grade pill costs at least several hundred silver coins, and not every martial artist can afford it. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying's families could only be considered moderately wealthy, so they didn't have many opportunities to take pills normally. Now that they suddenly saw so many pills, they were naturally shocked. The shop assistant smiled proudly upon hearing this and said, "That's natural. Our Treasure Convergence Tower has a dedicated team of alchemists who constantly supply pills for sale. In this regard, our Treasure Convergence Tower is not weaker than the Pill Pavilion at all." The Pill Pavilion was a branch established by the Pill Tower in the Great Qi Kingdom and was also the center of alchemists in the Great Qi Kingdom. The professional certification of all alchemists in the entire Great Qi Kingdom needed to be approved by the Pill Pavilion. Therefore, being able to compete with the Pill Pavilion in terms of pill supply was a very proud thing for the Treasure Convergence Tower. Hiss! Lin Qian and Zhang Ying couldn't help but gasp again when they heard this. So awesome! The Pill Pavilion was the sacred ground for alchemists in the Great Qi Kingdom. The fact that the Treasure Convergence Tower could compete with the Pill Pavilion in terms of pills was simply astonishing. Thinking of this, the two couldn't help but think even more highly of the Treasure Convergence Tower. Seeing their expressions, the shop assistant felt a great sense of satisfaction and turned to look at Qin Chen. He thought he would see an expression of amazement on Qin Chen's face as well, but he found that Qin Chen's expression was calm and there was no ripple in his eyes at all. Does this esteemed guest not believe me? The shop assistant raised his eyebrows. Qin Chen was stunned. To be honest, his attention had not been focused on the conversation just now. After seeing the pills here, Qin Chen immediately thought of the upcoming blood spirit pool trip. Since he wanted to improve his strength to the extreme as soon as possible, in addition to cultivating techniques and martial skills, taking strength-enhancing pills was also a good choice. Oh, Qin Chen nodded after regaining his senses. I believe you, of course I believe you. His indifferent tone made the previously smug shop assistant feel as if he had swallowed a dead fly, feeling extremely uncomfortable. His impression of Qin Chen couldn't help but drop even lower. In fact, Qin Chen was speechless in his heart. Was there any point in comparing the sales of low-level pills between the Treasure Convergence Tower and the Pill Pavilion? The alchemists in the Pill Pavilion were often tech-savvy people. What they liked most was to study new pill formulas in order to refine more effective pills, rather than producing low-level pills on an assembly line. In addition, the high-level alchemists in the Pill Pavilion were definitely far superior to those in the Treasure Convergence Tower. This kind of comparison was inherently unfair. If the three of you keep looking like this, I'm afraid you won't be able to finish browsing our Treasure Convergence Tower in half a day. I wonder what you want to buy, so I can give you some suggestions. The shop assistant was dissatisfied with Qin Chen's attitude and couldn't help but say directly. All right, I plan to buy a weapon. Then follow me. The shop assistant walked ahead, quickening his pace. Soon, he arrived at the weapon counter on the first floor. Our treasure convergence tower's weapons are all in this area. Feel free to look at what kind of weapon you want. The shop assistant stood aside with his arms folded, a sneer on his lips. He didn't believe that these teenagers could really afford anything. As soon as they saw the prices marked on these weapons, they would probably be scared away. Sure enough, as soon as they arrived at the counter, Zhang Ying and Lin Qian couldn't help but gasp. They saw various swords, sabers, axes, and halberds displayed in the counter. The lowest price was above several thousand silver coins, and it was rare to see anything below several thousand silver coins. The pocket money of the two of them combined was not enough to buy even the cheapest weapon. I need a good sword. Can you introduce me to one? Just as the shop assistant was secretly laughing, thinking that Qin Chen and the others were about to back down in the face of difficulties, a faint voice suddenly sounded in his ears. It was the pretentious young man who made him very unhappy. The shop assistant was so angry that his lungs were about to explode when he heard this. Did his intentions not work at all? Shouldn't this kid be dumbfounded, trembling, and then running away after seeing the price? But now, there was no trace of trembling on his face, and he even said, "Introduce me to one," as a matter of course. Introduce you, my ass. Even if I introduce you, can you afford it? And a good sword. Don't young people nowadays have any self-awareness? Look at the clothes you're wearing, just the simplest cloth that can be bought for 1 silver coin. Where did you get the courage to say that? The shop assistant couldn't help but want to burst into a rage in his heart. But the rules of the treasure convergence tower forced him to swallow his anger. He casually picked up a cyan long sword. This sword is made of cyan steel iron by a dedicated weapon refiner from the weapon hall. It has extraordinary effects. When used, the sound of it cutting through the air is like thunder, which can confuse the opponent's mind. Moreover, it is unparalleled in sharpness and belongs to the top grade among first-level weapons. The price is not expensive, only about 5,000 silver coins. Would you like to buy one? After speaking, the shop assistant added, "This cyan steel sword is already the cheapest long sword in our treasure convergence tower. After all, our treasure convergence tower only sells high-quality goods and does not sell those garbage items outside." Let me see. Qin Chen didn't say anything, just took the long sword, gently stroked the bright sword body, and then flicked it with his index finger. Clang! The crisp sound of the sword rang out, and Qin Chen had already understood the material and refining process of the entire sword. This sword did contain some cyan steel iron, but the amount was too small, probably only about 50 grams. For a 3-foot-long sword, the amount of cyan steel iron integrated should be at least 200 grams to maximize the strength of the sword body. 50 grams of cyan steel iron can make the sword sharp, but the toughness is not enough. It will probably shatter after colliding with weapons of the same level hundreds of times. Shaking his head, Qin Chen said, "This sword is not good, not tough enough. Do you have any others?" Act. Keep acting. Watching Qin Chen casually put down the green steel sword, with an expression as if he didn't think much of it, the shop assistant's resentment grew even stronger. Showing off in front of me, just say you can't afford it. And saying it's not tough enough, do you even know what toughness is? Acting like you're a weapon refiner. Suppressing the anger in his heart, the shop assistant picked up another longsword and said, "This blazing flame sword has volcanic crystals added to it, and was forged by Master Leng Mo of the Weapon Hall. Master Leng Mo is one of the leading weapon refiners in the Weapon Hall. Although this blazing flame sword is one of his earlier works, it is a rare masterpiece, and it's now selling for only 8,000 silver coins apiece." A faint crimson light swirled on the longsword. Qin Chen picked it up and injected a bit of true energy into it. Instantly, a scorching aura spread from the sword. Hiss! What a powerful sword! Lin Qian and Zhang Ying looked on with excitement in their eyes. As expected of a masterpiece by Master Leng Mo, if they had such a sword, their strength would probably increase by at least 1 level, and they would not be afraid of fighting against late-stage human realm warriors. But Qin Chen couldn't help but shake his head. The integration of volcanic crystals into the longsword can indeed give the sword a fire attribute, but if the warrior's own true energy is not of the fire attribute, the increase in strength will not be much different from that of an ordinary longsword, which is equivalent to a waste. Is there anything else? Qin Chen asked, putting down the blazing flame sword. Hearing Qin Chen's words, the shop assistant's eyes widened. You don't even like Master Leng Mo's work. This kid is too good at acting. Okay, since you want to act, then continue to act. The shop assistant angrily picked up a jet black longsword from behind the counter and said, "This radiance sword is also a work by Master Leng Mo. It is made by melting various special materials such as black iron, radiance stone, and moonlight sand, and it uses special forging techniques. It is one of Master Leng Mo's pinnacle works, but the price is not something ordinary people can afford. It sells for 15,000 silver coins." Buzz. As soon as the black longsword was unsheathed, a black light immediately circulated. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying both felt a chilling intent, and immediately sucked in a cold breath. What a divine weapon. How about it? Are you finally satisfied with this sword, Your Excellency? The shop assistant said with a cold snort. He was almost beside himself with anger. Qin Chen tossed the longsword, carefully examining the patterns on it. The entire sword had circles of spirals, and the forging technique should be the spiral steel forging method from the 5 basic techniques. The spiral steel forging method can be regarded as a leading special forging technique in the Great Qi Kingdom, but in the martial domain, this forging technique has long been eliminated. This is because the spiral steel forging method will cause some damage to the physiological structure of the raw materials during the refining process, which will destroy the ductility of the materials. In this way, the ability to withstand true energy will be much worse. Putting down the radiant sword, Qin Chen frowned and said, "Do you only have these longswords here? Don't you have anything better?" To be honest, he originally thought that the items taken out by the treasure pavilion, although not necessarily very satisfactory, would not be too bad. But the things that the shop assistant took out earlier were too rubbish, which made Qin Chen full of disappointment in the treasure pavilion. Better things. Our treasure pavilion has plenty of them, but can you afford them? There should be a limit to pretending. If you break something in my treasure pavilion, can you afford to pay for it? When the shop assistant heard Qin Chen's words, he immediately got angry, and the anger suppressed in his heart could no longer be endured and burst out. This kid is showing off in front of him again and again. If he can't afford it, he can't afford it. Why is he acting like a big shot? This loud shout immediately attracted the attention of other guests in the hall. What's going on? A deep voice sounded, and a middle-aged man in a black robe walked out from behind the counter. This man walked with dragon-like strides and had an imposing presence, obviously a steward of the treasure pavilion, who came out after hearing the commotion. Steward Zhu, these 3 teenagers clearly don't have the ability to buy anything, but they are finding fault with everything in my treasure pavilion. This subordinate really couldn't bear it anymore, so I reprimanded them. Oh. The middle-aged steward looked at Qin Chen, carefully sizing up the 3 of them while saying, "Guests, is this the case?" Qin Chen didn't expect to encounter such a thing when he came out to buy something, and he couldn't help but feel displeased. He snorted coldly and said, "I just want to buy a weapon, but your shop assistant is looking down on people, and only taking out some rubbish. What? Does your treasure pavilion not allow guests to not buy things? Or are you saying that as long as you take out rubbish, we have to buy it?" The other guests on the side were immediately stunned. Who is this, daring to say that the treasures of the treasure pavilion are rubbish? The treasure pavilion is the leading treasure shop in the royal capital. If the things here are rubbish, then there are no treasures anywhere else. Steward Zhu, did you hear that? Did you hear that? This is not this little one causing trouble. The shop assistant immediately jumped up, pointed at Qin Chen and said, "Steward Zhu, take a look at the clothes he's wearing. He comes to my treasure pavilion to spend money dressed like this. HMPH. It's not that my treasure pavilion looks down on guests, but that some so-called guests are really teasing people." Steward Zhu's face darkened when he heard this, and he squinted at Qin Chen and said, "Guest, my treasure pavilion welcomes guests with open arms, and the requirement for my subordinates is to be respectful and responsive to every guest, but if someone uses the rules of my treasure pavilion to cause trouble and tease us, then don't blame my treasure pavilion for not giving face and calling your family's adults over." As soon as he finished speaking, a majestic true energy poured out and pressed down on Qin Chen and the others. This steward was actually a late-stage peak Earth realm expert. Lin Tian and Zhang Ying's faces changed, and they quickly said, "Misunderstanding, this steward, there must be some misunderstanding. We are all students of the Heavenly Star Academy, and we are not here to cause trouble in the treasure pavilion. You must have misunderstood. Lin Tian, Zhang Ying, stop talking." Qin Chen waved his hand to stop the two of them from speaking, and snorted coldly, "Are you threatening me? Or is this how your treasure pavilion does business?" Facing Steward Zhu's late-stage peak Earth realm pressure, Qin Chen was not afraid, his face was calm and composed, and all he had was a faint coldness. Steward Zhu couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, revealing a strange look. "Hee, kid, you have guts." Immediately, he sneered. This was the first time Steward Zhu had seen a young man dare to show such an expression in front of him. Did he really think he wouldn't dare to punish him? "Come on," he shouted sharply, and a team of fully armed guards ran over immediately. "Manager Zhu, what is it?" the burly leader asked respectfully. Manager Zhu smiled coldly and said directly, "Drag these 3 teenagers out and throw them at the entrance of the Gathering Treasure Pavilion. If they dare to resist, beat them up and break their legs. HMPH. Daring to cause trouble in my Gathering Treasure Pavilion, those who don't know how to live or die." Manager Zhu had a look of disdain on his face. He had seen many teenagers causing trouble like this. They were probably disciples from some powerful family in the royal capital, used to being mighty in other places, so they put on airs when they arrived at the Gathering Treasure Pavilion. It's a pity that this is the Gathering Treasure Pavilion. Not to mention ordinary disciples from powerful families, even nobles from influential families have to consider their own weight. If you dare to cause trouble here, you must be prepared to be taught a lesson. Yes. Several burly guards shouted loudly and walked towards Qin Chen and the others with murderous intent. The shop assistant on the side showed a sneer on his face when he saw this scene. "Let you show off just now. Now it's good, you've gone too far, haven't you? Don't you take a look at what place this is? Is this a place where you can show off? What do you want to do?" Seeing the appearance of those guards, Lin Tian and Zhang Ying, who were originally a little timid, suddenly became angry and stood in front of Qin Chen. "We are students of the Heavenly Star Academy. How dare you attack us? The Heavenly Star Academy is quite famous in the royal capital. Hee, I don't care who you are. Even if you are disciples of noble families, if you cause trouble in my Gathering Treasure Pavilion, you will still be beaten." Manager Zhu said with a sneer. The status of the Heavenly Star Academy in the royal capital is high, but there are so many students in the entire academy. If they beat up too, how could the academy stand up for them? Moreover, causing trouble in the Gathering Treasure Pavilion, they are not afraid even if they go to court. Just as those guards were about to grab Qin Chen and the others. "Hey, isn't this Qin Chen, the champion of the year-end exam of the Heavenly Star Academy?" At this time, a noble in the hall who had participated in the year-end exam ceremony of the Heavenly Star Academy recognized Qin Chen and immediately exclaimed. The others around immediately showed surprise. "It's him, are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure. It really is him, indeed Qin Chen." The 2 people beside him are Lin Tian and Zhang Ying, disciples of the Lin family and Zhang family. "I'll go, it really is this guy. If those 2 teenagers hadn't said they were students of the Heavenly Star Academy, I wouldn't have recognized him for a while." At this time, other guests also recognized Qin Chen's identity one after another. These days, if you ask who is the most popular in the royal capital, without a doubt, it is definitely Qin Chen. Qin Chen's reputation is not only because he won the first place in the annual exam of the Heavenly Star Academy, but also because of the grievances between him and the Qin family. Especially the fact that Qin Yong joined forces with the people from Shadow Kill Tower to assassinate Qin Chen last night, resulting in the annihilation of the entire army, pushed Qin Chen to the forefront. Some people say that Prince Kang is going to marry his beloved daughter, Princess Zhaolingshan, one of the 4 beauties of the royal capital, to Qin Chen, so he specially sent experts to protect him. Others say that there is a master hidden in the dark beside Qin Chen, guarding him at all times. Still others say that Qin Chen is actually the closed-door disciple of Chu Weiken, the dean of the Heavenly Star Academy, so Chu Weiken takes great care of him. Various rumors flew around, making it difficult to distinguish the truth. Stop. Stop it now. Hearing the discussions of the people around, Manager Zhu's face changed instantly. He jumped up like a frog, swayed his body, and blocked the front of the guards. One of the guards had already grabbed Qin Chen with murderous intent. In a panic, Manager Zhu slapped him away with a palm, his face as nervous as if he was constipated. Manager Zhu, what's wrong with you? All the guards present were stunned. What's wrong with this Manager Zhu? He just asked him to arrest Qin Chen, why is he now rushing forward like he saw his own father? Are you blind? All of you, step back. Manager Zhu shouted angrily at the guards, and then his face, which was originally angry and gloomy, suddenly blossomed with warmth and sunshine as he looked at Qin Chen. Cough cough, so it's young Master Chen. I'm sorry. Damn it. Is this teenager in front of him actually Qin Chen, who is the most popular in the royal capital today? Manager Zhu's heart was like 10,000 alpacas galloping past, and his back was instantly soaked with cold sweat. If others hadn't said so, he would have almost caused a catastrophe. Although he had never seen Qin Chen, it didn't prevent him from hearing about Qin Chen's rumors. This teenager is no ordinary person. The Gathering Treasure Pavilion has a high status and great power in the royal capital, but that is only relative to ordinary noble families. When facing real wealthy families, they still have to pay attention to their limits. After all, if the Gathering Treasure Pavilion wants to survive in the royal capital, the relationship in all aspects must be good. For example, this one in front of him. The grandson of Prince Tianwu. The first place in the year-end exam of the Heavenly Star Academy. A kingdom genius who is about to accept the baptism of the blood spirit pool. If something happened to such a person in his Gathering Treasure Pavilion, his Gathering Treasure Pavilion might not collapse, but he, the manager, would probably really be finished. Not to mention anything else, these 2 days, in order to speak up for this Qin Chen, it is said that Chu Weikan, the dean of the Heavenly Star Academy, and Prince Kang have knocked on the Jingsheng drum more than once. If he really broke this person's legs, then the outcome. Just thinking about it made Manager Zhu feel a chill down there. Didn't you just say you wanted to throw us out and break our legs? Cough cough. Where? Young Master Chen, you must have misunderstood. How could I say such a thing? Our Gathering Treasure Pavilion values customers. We welcome genius teenagers like young Master Chen. How could we dare to drive you out? You must have misheard. Manager Zhu shook his head like a rattle. Is that so? Of course. Manager Zhu said righteously, what I just said was to drag that shop assistant out. This shop assistant dared to be rude to young Master Chen, which is really detrimental to the dignity of my Gathering Treasure Pavilion. Come on, drag this guy out for me. The shop assistant's face turned green. Manager Zhu, Shut up. You offended young Master Chen. Do you still want to quibble? Immediately, a group of guards rushed up and dragged the shop assistant out, and a burst of wailing and screaming came from outside the door. Come, young Master Chen, don't let these unpleasant people disrupt your mood. I'll take you around our Gathering Treasure Pavilion. Without saying a word, Manager Zhu immediately took Qin Chen and the others upstairs. The treasures on this floor are actually just the most ordinary ones in our Gathering Treasure Pavilion. The Treasure Pavilion on the 2nd floor is where the real treasures of our Gathering Treasure Pavilion are located. Walking into the 2nd floor, a feeling of luxury immediately came over them. The entire 2nd floor hall was extremely luxurious, with many counters filled with things around, which looked much more luxurious than the 1st floor hall. Compared to the 1st floor, there were obviously fewer customers on the 2nd floor, but each of them was wearing gold and jade, and the demeanor was extraordinary, obviously with great status. Isn't this Qin Chen? In the 2nd floor hall, several handsome young men and women were selecting treasures. Seeing the person coming, one of them immediately showed a look of surprise. Qin Chen looked up and saw a simple pear wood table on the side of the hall on the 2nd floor. Around the wooden table were a group of young men and women dressed in silk and satin, who were obviously wealthy and noble. These people were all young, and there were quite a few of them. The men were quite handsome, and the women were all extremely beautiful. Especially the girl standing in the center, surrounded by everyone like a moon surrounded by stars. The girl was young, but she was very well developed. Under her coiled black hair, her delicate nose was high, and her cherry-like red lips were full of alluring flavor. Her neck was held high like a swan, and below was a tight collarbone, with skin like mutton fat jade. The girl was wearing a red dress, just like a red flower about to bloom, attracting people's attention. Around the girl were many young people, one of whom was also a student of Tianwu Academy. He seemed to be a son of a marquis's mansion. He recognized Qin Chen at a glance and exclaimed in surprise. He is Qin Chen. Among the group of young men and women, someone whispered, revealing an interested expression. Now Qin Chen's name can be said to be rising in the royal capital. Li Qingfeng, is this the kid who defeated you in the Tianwu Academy's year-end exam and won the championship? He doesn't look like much. Hee. I heard that this person is Qin family's illegitimate son and was driven out of Qin mansion by Qin family not long ago, just like a stray dog. Being defeated by such a kid, Li Qingfeng, you really give us face. Besides the girl, there were also several extraordinary men present. Li Qingfeng was also among them, and there were also several youths around 20 years old. The energy on their bodies was condensed and not released, looking extremely terrifying. Among this group of young people, two were teasing Li Qingfeng with smiles. And when they spoke, their eyes kept glancing at the red-skirted girl, obviously admirers of the red-skirted girl. It's just that the red-skirted girl was not interested in their conversation at all. After taking a proud look at Qin Chen at the beginning, she didn't say a word and stood there quietly, as if waiting for something. Li Qingfeng was choked by the words of the two, his face was livid, and he said coldly, a stray dog, no matter what others say, he is also the grandson of Dingwu King. If you have the guts, say this in front of Dingwu King. What's more, Li Qingfeng smiled sarcastically, I remember that brother Ge and brother Lian were only the 3rd and 4th place in the year-end exam before graduation, right? Humph, that's better than you being defeated by an illegitimate son. Our opponents back then were the 4th prince and Qin Feng. The two young men seemed to have their old secrets exposed and said in embarrassment and anger. Even if your opponents were the 4th prince and Qin Feng, your ranking should be 2nd, right? Why did you only get 3rd and 4th in the end? I don't know where your sense of superiority comes from. Li Qingfeng shook his head and said. The two were so angry that smoke was coming out of their ears, and fire was about to burst out of their eyes. They finally found an opportunity to belittle Li Qingfeng in front of Miss Yan, but they were humiliated instead. It's all because of this Qin Chen. The two glared at Qin Chen with a cold light in their eyes. Okay, brother Li, brother Ge, brother Lian, don't be unhappy for a small matter. Today is Jubao Tower's monthly treasure appraisal meeting, and there is also a chance to gamble on treasures. You guys should think about how to appraise treasures later. Someone smoothed things over. Yes. Last time brother Ge bought a bracelet. After polishing it, it turned out to have several ancient magic arrays engraved on it. After reactivating it, it actually had the effect of increasing the speed of true energy condensation. It was a big profit. So. The young man surnamed Ge smiled slightly. I thought the bracelet was extraordinary at the time, so I bought it for 10,000 silver coins. Who knew that after polishing it, the price would double several times? It can be considered luck. He looked indifferent on the surface, but he was extremely proud in his heart. That bracelet gambling was his most proud moment in recent years. Now that it was mentioned in front of Miss Yan, he was so proud that he was about to climax. But on his face, he still pretended to be very modest. This is not luck. Brother Ge's family runs treasures and jade, and he is quite accomplished in this area. I am afraid that there are not many people present who can compare with brother Ge in terms of jade. Brother Ge can see it. It all depends on strength. Brother Lian is also good. I remember that brother Lian spent 8,000 silver coins to buy a stone cup before, but after cutting open the stone skin, it turned out to be a Yulong Nightlight cup. Someone offered 50,000 silver coins on the spot, but brother Lian was unwilling to sell it. It's really enviable. The young man surnamed Lian smiled proudly and said, that person wanted to buy this young sect master's night light cup for 50,000 silver coins. Does this young sect master look like someone who lacks 50,000 silver coins? Yulong night light cup is rare. It's a special flavor to drink with it. Brother Lian is right, that person underestimated Brother Lian too much. Brother Lian is the young master of Baijianmen, how could he care about that mere 50,000 silver coins? It's ridiculous. Listening to this group of people praising each other, Qin Chen also understood the origins of this group of people. This Ge Zhou is a disciple of the Ge family, a wealthy family in the Darky Kingdom. The Ge family specializes in jade business, and its business spans the entire Darky Kingdom. It can be said to be wealthy and has a prominent status in the Darky Kingdom. As for Lian Peng, he is the young master of Baijianmen in the Darky Kingdom. Baijianmen is one of the top sects in the Darky Kingdom, and its young master is naturally extraordinary. This group of people are all pursuers of that girl Yan Ruyu. The Yan family is one of the three major families in the Darky Kingdom. Yan Ruyu and Zhao Lingshan are equally famous, and they are also one of the four beauties in the Darky Kingdom. Moreover, she is very charming and enchanting, attracting the pursuit of many princes and sons. Today is Jubao Tower's monthly gambling day. After hearing that Yan Ruyu was also here, these dignitaries in the royal capital rushed into the second floor of Jubao Tower one by one, obviously to show off in front of their sweetheart in order to win Yan Ruyu's favor. Gambling. Qin Chen, who understood the reason, was stunned. He had also seen so-called gambling in the martial domain. Tianwu Continent has many secret realms and ruins, which contain many ancient objects. Some of these ancient objects are just ordinary things, but some are secret treasures of ancient sects, all kinds of rare treasures. It's just that with the passage of endless years, these treasures have been buried underground, and after countless years of dust, they have become completely different from the original. In addition, Tianwu Continent has an extremely vast history. In the vast river of history, countless huge civilizations have been annihilated. This also led to the fact that many treasures from the ancient and remote ancient times have become unrecognizable to many people now. Sometimes, the treasures obtained from relics, even when placed before a master appraiser, might not be immediately recognized for what they are. This has given rise to the industry of treasure gambling. Many people who find things in ancient sites, secret realms, and relics do not refine and appraise them themselves, but directly take them to treasure markets for gambling. In this way, they not only sell at a good price but also transfer the risk to others. For those who gamble on treasures, this is also a very exciting thing. Once a treasure is won, one's net worth can instantly increase several times, making them a millionaire. But if their judgment is poor, and they misjudge several treasures in a row, they could lose everything they own. This behavior, similar to gambling, is known to be full of risks, yet it attracts countless people, who are infatuated with it. Steward Liu, when exactly will this round of treasure gambling begin? We've been waiting impatiently. Yes, we've been waiting for almost an hour. We're really eager to get started. A group of young people, growing impatient, repeatedly urged a steward present. This steward, surnamed Liu, was the steward of the second floor of the Gathering Treasure Pavilion, specifically in charge of treasure gambling matters. He quickly cupped his hands and said, "Everyone, please don't be anxious." This time, the treasures for gambling were obtained from an ancient relic at a great cost by our Gathering Treasure Pavilion, so the preparation time was a bit longer. Please be patient. Steward Liu is talking about the St. Luo secret realm, right? We came specifically after hearing this news. Exactly, exactly. The group clamored, their faces filled with excitement. The St. Luo secret realm is an ancient relic located in the Monster Ancestor Mountains of the Northwest Five Kingdoms. It is said to be the ruins of a vast empire from ancient times. It is filled with dangers, but also with many treasures, making it a paradise for adventurers from the Northwest Five Kingdoms. Many treasures have been unearthed from it in the past, making it a very important source for treasure gambling in the Northwest Five Kingdoms. What's this, young Master Chen? Are you also interested in treasure gambling? Seeing Qin Chen looking at the Wangli wood table, Steward Zhu suddenly smiled. Young people are particularly interested in treasure gambling. Although there are quite a few dignitaries who come to the Gathering Treasure Pavilion's monthly treasure gambling events, there are even more descendants of wealthy and noble families from the capital. Although these noble descendants don't have a lot of money on them, they are capable of doing anything to compete and show off. Compared to those mature family heads and strong individuals, they are more willing to spend lavishly. Nearby, Lin Qian and Zhang Ying's eyes lit up. They had heard of treasure gambling activities for a long time, but had never participated in one. How could they not be excited to witness it today? They all looked at Qin Chen expectantly. Hee, Steward Zhu, you jest. I have no interest in treasure gambling, Qin Chen said with a smile. In fact, Qin Chen in his previous life was very interested in treasure gambling. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ventured into various relics and searched for various treasures in his previous life. It's just that he knew very well that the most important thing in treasure gambling is the source of the treasures. How could a remote place like the Great Qi Kingdom have any impressive relics? The so-called ancient relics are likely just small cities sealed off from ancient times, and the treasures unearthed wouldn't be anything good. Steward Zhu, please bring out the best swords you have here, Qin Chen said directly. His purpose here was to select a sharp sword. After selecting it, he had other things to do, and he had no intention of wasting time here. All right, Steward Zhu replied, somewhat surprised by Qin Chen's answer. He called out, and soon brought Qin Chen to a weapon counter, taking out a snow-white long sword. Young Master Chen, this is the second-tier ice glaze sword, forged by Master Leng Mo, a second-tier weapon refiner from the weaponry hall. It incorporates Arctic cold iron, making it exceptionally powerful. Young Master Chen, please take a look. Qin Chen took the long sword and gently flicked it. Clang! A light chime echoed throughout the second floor, and a faint aura of icy cold spread out. Although this chill was weak, it pierced the heart. Zhang Ying and Lin Qian shivered in unison. This ice-glazed sword is priced at 70,000 silver coins. What do you think, young Master Chen? Steward Zhu said with a smile. So, Qin Chen shook his head. A long sword with ice attributes was not very suitable for him. Do you have anything else? Yes. Of course. Steward Zhu didn't mind, and quickly took out a few more second-tier long swords. The treasures on this second floor were indeed more than twice as good as those on the first floor. They were basically second-tier long swords, and the refining techniques were also very clever. However, no matter how Qin Chen looked, he was not satisfied. It wasn't that he was too picky, but that his standards were too high. He could easily see at least 7 or 8 flaws in these weapons made by ordinary weapon refiners. Buying such weapons would be too depressing for him, and it would be better to refine one himself. Isn't there any better weapon? Those previous long swords were all too ordinary. In the end, Qin Chen was speechless. His time was precious, and he thought it would be more convenient to buy a weapon at the Gathering Treasure Pavilion. Now it seemed that he had thought too much and overestimated the weapon refining level of the Great Qi Kingdom. TCH. What big words, one would think you are some peerless expert here to choose a precious weapon, sneered a voice. This kid is really good at acting tough, even Master Leng Mo of the weaponry hall's precious weapons are considered ordinary by him. Hee. A second-tier precious weapon costs at least tens of thousands of silver coins. This kid probably doesn't have any money and is deliberately pretending here. Did you guys hear just now? This kid even said that he has no interest in treasure gambling, haha, I think it's because he doesn't have the money to participate. In the second floor hall, those young men and women, having nothing better to do, laughed when they heard Qin Chen's words. In their opinion, Qin Chen was really too pretentious. Disliking Master Leng Mo's second-tier precious weapon was a joke, wasn't it? Suddenly, a young man seemed to have thought of something and looked at Yan Ruyu, smiling. This guy isn't trying to attract Miss Yan Ruyu's attention by deliberately saying this, is he? As soon as he said this, everyone present seemed to understand something. No wonder this kid looks down on even Master Leng Mo's precious weapons, so he's trying to attract Miss Yan Ruyu's attention. This guy should take a look at himself. If he wants to use this method to attract Miss Yan Ruyu, then he is very wrong. Miss Yan Ruyu is not the kind of person who is easily impressed. The more someone tries to attract her attention ostentatiously, the more she looks down on them. Sure enough, after hearing these people's words, a faint trace of contempt appeared in Yan Ruyu's eyes. She glanced at Qin Chen arrogantly, a sneering smile on her lips. She had heard that Qin Chen was the champion of the year-end exam at the Heavenly Star Academy, but even so, trying to attract her attention with this method was too cliché. If Qin Chen knew what Yan Ruyu was thinking, he would probably vomit blood. Ignoring the words of these people, Qin Chen looked at Steward Zhu. Steward Zhu's lips twitched, and he said, "Of course, our Jubao Pavilion also has better weapons, but those are all third-order treasures, which are the best of the best, and the price is more than 300,000 silver coins. If young Master Chen wants to see them, I can get them for you." So expensive. Qin Chen was taken aback. He only had a total of 110,000 silver coins on him, which was still the reward from the year-end exam. He thought it would be enough to buy a treasure weapon, but now it seems that it is far from enough. In fact, Qin Chen knew very well that human-level warriors generally only needed to use first-order treasure weapons, and even many Earth-level warriors also used first-order treasure weapons. Second-order treasure weapons are often used by Earth-level and Heaven-level warriors. As for third-order treasure weapons, many Heaven-level powerhouses may not even have them. Now that he is only at the late-stage peak of the human level, wanting to buy a third-order treasure weapon is naturally very difficult. What made him headache was that he really couldn't stand the first-order and second-order treasure weapons, which led him to a dilemma. Ha ha ha, you came to Jubao Pavilion without money. It's really hilarious. A human-level warrior actually wants to buy a third-order treasure weapon. Who does he think he is? The prince of the Great Qi Kingdom. It's ridiculous that he was still disdaining Master Leng Mo's work just now. Where did he get the courage from? A burst of laughter came from the crowd. Young Master Chen, Zhang Ying and Lin Qian were so angry that their faces turned red, and they said indignantly, "These people are too much. Forget it. Let them laugh if they want to." Qin Chen waved his hand. He didn't have so much energy to deal with other people's ridicule. His time was too tight. Originally, he planned to directly buy a treasure weapon, but now it seems impossible. Qin Chen said to Steward Zhu, "Steward Zhu, do you have any spiritual herbs here?" Hee. Our Jubao Pavilion has everything, and spiritual herbs are naturally indispensable. Steward Zhu said with a smile. His attitude towards Qin Chen did not change in the slightest. TSK, this Qin Chen didn't buy a treasure weapon. Why is he buying spiritual herbs? Could he still be a master alchemist? Ji Zhou said with a playful smile. It's very possible. This kid is someone who even disdains the treasure weapons refined by Master Leng Mo. It's normal for such a genius to be an alchemist. Ha ha, ha ha ha. Lian Peng and others laughed loudly, with a playful look on their faces. Ignoring these people's ridicule, Qin Chen, led by Steward Zhu, quickly arrived at the spiritual herb area. 1 heartless fruit, 1 tail of 1,000 gold seed, and 3 cold bright grasses. Quote. I have to say, Jubao Pavilion is really not bragging. The medicinal materials are very complete. Qin Chen quickly bought some medicinal materials that he could use, and finally bought 2 bloodline stones for testing bloodlines. 1 heartless fruit, 1,000 silver coins per fruit. 1,000 gold seed, 3,000 silver coins per tail. Cold bright grass, 1,500 silver coins per root. Quote. After a round of selection, Steward Zhu quickly completed the settlement and said with a smile, "The total is 38,500 silver coins. I will take the liberty of removing the extra 500 silver coins, and the honest price is 38,000 silver coins." Steward Zhu looked at Qin Chen with a smile. Ha ha, Steward Zhu, there's no way this kid can come up with 38,000 silver coins. I heard that this person has been expelled from the Qin family, and now he lives with his mother in the slums of the West City. That's where the dregs live. How could he have money on him? Don't even mention 38,000 silver coins. This person probably can't even come up with 3,800 silver coins. If I were the steward of Jubao Pavilion, I would have thrown this kind of customer who is making fun of Jubao Pavilion directly into the street. Ji Zhou and others laughed, their laughter filled with ridicule. They had heard about Qin Chen being expelled from the Qin family. If Qin Chen had money, he wouldn't have lived with his mother in a place like the West City. What kind of place is the West City? A slum. A house there costs only a few thousand silver coins. How could someone living in that kind of place take out more than 30,000 silver coins to buy medicinal materials at once? They wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. If this Qin Chen can come up with 38,000 silver coins, I will eat this rosewood table. In order to prove his judgment, Ge Zhou made a curse. It's just that before he could finish his words, his eyes suddenly widened, and his voice stopped abruptly, like an old duck being strangled. I saw Qin Chen wiping his right hand, a faint light flashed, and several silver notes suddenly appeared in his hand, and he handed them to Steward Zhu. Here are 38,000 silver coins, Steward Zhu, please count them. Storage ring. Everyone present focused their eyes and were taken aback. This is a treasure worth at least 100,000 silver coins, and even heaven-level warriors may not have one. This kid actually has a storage ring. Everyone was secretly shocked. Looking at the silver notes in his hand, Steward Zhu casually counted them, and his old face immediately unfolded like a chrysanthemum, grinning and said, "That's right, 38,000, not a penny less." Beside him, Ge Zhou looked like he had eaten a dead rat. His face was as ugly as it could be. Damn it! He had just finished saying that if Qin Chen could come up with 38,000 silver coins, he would eat the rosewood table. Who knew that before he could finish his words, Qin Chen directly took out 38,000 silver coins and unobtrusively showed off his storage ring. This is a treasure that they don't even have. This face was slapped so hard that it was swollen beyond recognition, and he wished he could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. Didn't this Qin Chen get expelled from the Qin family? And he lives in the West City. Where did he get the silver notes from? Could it be from cheating and swindling? Suddenly, someone in the crowd said suspiciously. As soon as these words came out, Ge Zhou and others' eyes lit up, and they suddenly woke up. That's right. It must be so. There is no other explanation besides this reason. I was wondering, how could this kid come up with silver notes? So it turns out he got them from cheating and swindling. HMPH. Only some dregs can do such despicable things. TSK. Young people should be poor with integrity. It's a shame for us warriors to do such low-down things for some money. Ge Zhou and others changed their tone and immediately began to sneer. In the crowd, Li Qingfeng looked at Ge Zhou and Lian Peng like idiots. Are these idiots not paying attention to the other party's news when they despise people? Qin Chen is indeed very poor, but after the year-end exam of Qianxing Academy yesterday, he just received a storage ring and a reward of 110,000 silver coins. Didn't these guys inquire about it at all? And they are still constantly mocking others there. Clearly a bunch of idiots. Li Qingfeng couldn't help but step back. Standing with this group of idiots is simply lowering his IQ. By the way, I seem to have heard someone say just now that as long as I can come up with silver coins, they will eat this rosewood table. I wonder if I heard it wrong. Putting away the spiritual herbs, Qin Chen suddenly seemed to have thought of something and said suspiciously in the second-floor hall. As soon as he said this, everyone looked at Ge Zhou with strange expressions. Facing everyone's gaze, Ge Zhou's face suddenly changed. Damn it, is this kid doing it on purpose? He really knows how to hit a nerve. Ge Zhou almost cursed out loud in his heart. However, he still forcibly endured it, deliberately putting on a calm expression, as if he wasn't the one who said those words. He even asked in confusion, "Why is everyone looking at me? Is there something on my face?" Shameless. Absolutely shameless. Everyone was utterly impressed by Ge Zhou's mental fortitude. To be able to act as if nothing had happened under the gazes of so many people, his skin alone was thicker than a city wall. Wasn't it you who said that, sir? I seemed to hear those words coming from your mouth just now, didn't I? Qin Chen asked in confusion. Young Master Chen, it was him. Lin Tian and Zhang Ying also shouted. Really? Ge Zhou looked around in confusion and shook his head. I don't know which of your ears heard me say that, but I certainly didn't say it. It wasn't you. Of course not. Ge Zhou said righteously. I, Ge Zhou, am upright and honest. How could I be the kind of person who denies what he says and breaks his promises? The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. Ge Zhou's ability to lie through his teeth was truly exceptional. Facing everyone's gazes, even Yan Ruyu's gaze, Ge Zhou was extremely depressed. He wished he could chop off his own mouth for making him say such a thing. But at this time, he absolutely could not admit it. Oh, if it wasn't you, then that's good. Qin Chen nodded, seemingly believing him. I see that you have a dignified appearance and don't seem like the kind of beast who denies what he says. Those who break their promises are worse than pigs and dogs, and their sons will be born without an anus. You don't seem like that kind of person at all, do you think so? You're the one whose son will be born without an anus. Your whole family will be born without an anus. Ge Zhou cursed wildly in his heart, so angry that his hair stood on end. He wished he could dismember Qin Chen into 8 pieces on the spot. But at this time, he could only endure the humiliation, his face strange, as bitter as if he were constipated. Yes, I guess. After saying this, Ge Zhou was about to cry. For making his mouth run off just now. Everyone looked at Ge Zhou's painful expression, and they were all speechless. To make Ge Zhou curse himself, this Qin Chen was simply too wicked. Fortunately, it wasn't me who said that just now. Distinguished guests, our treasure gathering pavilion's once-a-month treasure gambling convention is about to begin. At this time, Steward Lu of the treasure gathering pavilion suddenly shouted loudly. Everyone's attention was drawn over. Steward Lu clapped his hands, and from the back of the second floor, a group of beauties wearing gauze skirts suddenly walked out. Each beauty held a tray in her hand, and the tray was filled with countless simple and ancient objects. These objects were all very old, covered with moss and rocks, and of various shapes, exuding an ancient and simple aura. There were more than 100 pieces in total. The beautiful attendants of the treasure-gathering pavilion walked back and forth several times before placing all these objects neatly on the yellow pear wood table. The yellow pear wood table, which was tens of meters long, was immediately filled with all kinds of strange and ancient objects. Whoosh! The many dignitaries and wealthy merchants who were originally scattered on the second floor of the treasure-gathering pavilion all rushed to the yellow pear wood table, their eyes shining, extremely excited. Their hands kept stroking the objects, as if they were touching smooth-skinned naked women, extremely gently. Qin Chen was stunned. They were just some objects excavated from the ruins. Did these people have to be so excited? Zhang Ying, Lin Tian, let's go. Qin Chen shook his head and was about to call Zhang Ying and Lin Tian to leave when he turned his head and saw that the two of them had shining eyes, looking at the yellow pear wood table surrounded by people, just like hungry wolves. Young Master Chen, shall we go take a look too? Yes. Yes. Treasure gambling. This is my first time seeing it. I heard that someone once gambled a 4th-tier Xuan weapon at the treasure-gathering pavilion for 10 silver coins and directly became a billionaire. Lin Tian and Zhang Ying said excitedly, looking as if their hearts had already flown to the gambling table. Fine. I'll accompany you two to watch for a while. Qin Chen was speechless when he saw the two of them. However, he could understand their feelings. Young people are always curious when they see this kind of thing. Yay! Young Master Chen, you're simply the best. Zhang Ying and Lin Tian shouted and rushed up. Shaking his head, Qin Chen came to the gambling table. The long gambling table was filled with objects. Some of the shapes were already very obvious, and you could tell that they were sword-shaped, knife-shaped, or medicine bottles, etc. Others were still very rough, hidden under fossil-like rock layers. Everyone, this batch of treasures was obtained by our treasure-gathering pavilion at a great cost. They come from a relic in the St. Luo secret realm. That relic is still very old and has not been fully excavated. Therefore, the prices of these objects in front of you are much higher than usual. Steward Lu of the treasure-gathering pavilion stood in the center of the crowd and said loudly, we have marked the price on each object. You can refer to it. If you see an object you like, you can buy it directly and choose to open the treasure on the spot according to your needs. Sure enough, there was a small sign next to each object, marking the price, ranging from a few hundred silver coins to tens of thousands of silver coins. The most expensive one was worth 100,000 silver coins. Young Master Chen, the prices of the objects here are not very high. I see that there are still things worth a few hundred silver coins. Should we buy one and try it out? Maybe we can open some treasure and make a fortune. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying rubbed their palms, eager to try. With you few, why don't you take a look at your own virtue? You think you can open a treasure? Ji Zhou had lost face earlier and harbored hatred for Qin Chen and the others. Hearing this, he immediately mocked. HMPH, isn't it just about luck? Maybe our luck is better than yours. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying said angrily. Ha ha ha, relying on luck. Oh my, you're killing me. These two idiots actually want to gamble on treasures. Ji Zhou laughed so hard that his stomach hurt. He was bent over and almost rolled on the ground. The others also burst into laughter. Isn't it? Lin Qian and Zhang Ying were puzzled. Ha ha, of course not. Let me tell you, Ji Zhou said condescendingly, treasure gambling relies on keen eyesight, rich knowledge, and an understanding of history. Of course, more importantly, it depends on cultivation. If it's just relying on luck, then who would come to treasure gambling? You're guaranteed to lose 10 out of 10 times. With that energy, it's better to just wait on the street to pick up money. That's more reliable. Ji Zhou's words immediately drew the approval of the crowd. Treasure gambling is indeed not a simple matter, but a technical job. Would a treasure shop like the Treasure Gathering Pavilion not even have treasure appraisal masters? That's obviously impossible. The valuable treasures that are truly unearthed from the relics can be seen at a glance. They must have been taken away by the Treasure Gathering Pavilion themselves in the first place. In other words, the objects in front of them are actually the leftovers that have been picked over by the Treasure Gathering Pavilion's treasure appraisal masters. Therefore, the probability of finding treasures among these items is extremely low. Of course, a low probability doesn't mean there are no treasures. And whether one can pick out the real treasures from these items that even the appraisal masters of Jubeilu can't identify truly tests a person's comprehensive abilities. The difficulty is so high that one can imagine it. But if you just rely on luck to gamble on treasures, it can be said that you will basically lose everything. Ji Zhou, have practiced appraisal for many years and seen many treasures before I dared to come to Jubeilu to try my luck. These guys casually want to gamble on treasures. Do they really think gambling on treasures is so easy? Ji Zhou said arrogantly, putting on a pretentious look. Brother Ge, don't bother with these guys. I know those two guys. One is called Zhang Ying, and the other is called Lin Qian. Their families have some foundation and can be considered small aristocratic families in my Darky Kingdom. But compared to Brother Ge, they are definitely far behind. That's right. What is Brother G's family background? He is the #1 Jade family in my Darky Kingdom. How can their vision and knowledge be compared to those of ordinary small aristocratic families? It would be a waste of their own status. A group of young men and women laughed, and many of them flattered Ge Zhou. The Ge family is a big wealthy family in Darky Kingdom. If a small aristocratic family can climb the relationship with the Ge family, it would be a great fortune. Hee, I wonder if you all have any items you want to choose. Steward Lu said with a smile from the side, easing the atmosphere. Why don't Brother Ge go first? Yes. Young Master Ge, please enlighten us. A group of people shouted. Okay, then I'll show off first and let everyone see how I appraise treasures. As Ge Zhou spoke, he came to the Wangli wood table, glanced slightly at Yan Ruyu next to him, and gracefully looked down at the items on the wooden table. These items look the same at first glance, covered with rocks and moss, very ancient, without any aura overflowing. Ge Zhou picked and chose, and soon came to an item the size of a fist. He squinted his eyes and stared at this thing for a long time, and finally nodded and said, I'll choose this one. Sir, this item is priced at 10,000 silver coins. Are you sure? A Jubeilu clerk immediately stepped forward and said, 10,000 silver coins is not a small amount of money, so it must be confirmed. It's just 10,000 silver coins, it's very cheap, I'll take this one. Ge Zhou pretentiously took out a silver note of 10,000 taels and said casually. Okay, sir, do you want to open the treasure on the spot? Do you even need to ask? Of course. Ge Zhou seemed very confident in the items he had chosen and said without hesitation. Under the gaze of everyone, the clerk immediately handed the item to a treasure opening master of Jubeilu. With a whoosh, everyone who was originally surrounding the Wangli wood table suddenly surrounded the treasure opening master. This treasure opening master was an old man in his 60s who had been opening treasures in Jubeilu for more than 10 years, and his technique was extremely steady. He picked up the treasure opening knife and quickly made a cut. Crack! The crisp sound of stone skin falling off came, and everyone held their breath, staring at the item in the old man's hand without blinking. Only to see pieces of stone skin constantly falling off, and a gleam of light was revealed in the fossil. There's something, there really is something. Someone in the crowd immediately screamed. As the stone skin fell off, before long, a jade bead the size of a dragon's eye appeared in front of everyone. The entire jade bead was about the size of a dragon's eye, with her emerald green color and patterns. It had been buried underground for countless years, but it was not damaged at all, and it was still transparent. What kind of treasure is this? Everyone was confused, but what they could know was that this was definitely an amazing treasure. Even Ji Zhou, whose family specialized in jade business, was a little confused at this time. Because even he couldn't see the origin of this jade bead. Quick! Let Master Yang of Jubeilu appraise it. Yes. Yes. Let Master Yang appraise it. Master Yang is the most well-known appraisal master in Jubeilu. Basically, he knows the effects of everything that enters his hands, and he has a great reputation in the royal capital. Without waiting for others to say anything, Steward Lu had already invited Master Yang over. Master Yang was an old man with white hair and a high-ranking demeanor. He took the jade bead, carefully observed it, and at the same time input a trace of true energy to test it. Congratulations, young Master Ge. Although this jade bead is not a real treasure, this item is an extremely rare enchantment jade. Wearing it on the body not only has a gentle and nourishing effect on the body, but also warms the warrior's spirit and eliminates fatigue. Its value is no less than that of an ordinary second-order treasure weapon. Master Yang said with a smile, putting the jade bead back into Ji Zhou's hand. Enchantment jade. Ji Zhou's eyes lit up. He had heard of this kind of precious jade, which originated from the depths of the earth, and is now very rare in the world. I wonder how much this enchantment jade bead is worth. Ji Zhou couldn't help but ask. Master Yang pondered for a moment and said, if I were to determine it, it would be about 50,000 silver coins. Hiss. Betting one turns into 50,000, that's a full 5 times the profit. Brother Ji's family is indeed specialized in the jade business. His vision is too good, right? The crowd was in an uproar, extremely excited. I wonder if young Master Ge is selling this enchantment jade. I am willing to offer 50,000 silver coins to buy it from young Master Ge. A pot-bellied wealthy businessman squeezed over and said. Hee. Am I the kind of person who lacks 50,000 silver coins? Ji Zhou glared at the wealthy businessman, then turned his gaze to Yan Ruyu, revealing a smile that he thought was suave, and said leisurely, beautiful jade naturally needs to be matched with a beautiful woman to enhance the value of the jade. Therefore, I would like to give this jade bead to Miss Yan Ruyu, hoping that Miss Yan Ruyu can accept my good intentions. Give it to Yan Ruyu. Lian Peng and others' expressions changed. Ji Zhou is so generous. 50,000 silver coins is not a small amount, and what's more, what Ji Zhou sent was not just 50,000 silver coins, but an enchantment jade inherited from ancient times. I really like this jade bead very much. I would like to thank young Master Ge here. Yan Ruyu smiled slightly, truly like 100 flowers blooming, beautiful and moving, illuminating the entire hall. Ha, not at all, not at all. It is my blessing to be able to give the beautiful jade to Miss Yan. Ji Zhou's eyes lit up, and he laughed heartily. Before, in order to pursue Yan Ruyu, he had also sent her many things, but she had not accepted them. Now that she had actually accepted his enchantment jade, Ji Zhou was so excited that he couldn't be more excited. There is nothing more exciting than using beautiful jade to win the heart of a beautiful woman. Turns out it's a piece of soul jade. Seeing this scene, Qin Chen, who was in the crowd, was also stunned, and then shook his head. I have to say, this Ji Zhou is indeed lucky. Qin Chen couldn't be more clear about the origin of soul jade. It does have the effects that Master Yang said. The effect of nourishing the spirit is extremely suitable for alchemists and weapon refiners who need to consume mental energy. If a complete piece of soul jade appeared in the martial domain, it would definitely cause a sensation. Especially soul jade engraved with formations has effects that other precious jades cannot imagine. It's just that this piece of soul jade that Ge Zhou opened has some problems and is far from being comparable to a real soul jade. Young Master Lian, why don't you pick one too? At this moment, someone in the crowd suddenly said. That's right, young Master Lian should pick one too. Young Master Lian is the young sect master of the White Sword sect, his vision must be good, maybe he can pick out some treasures. The crowd clamored, especially a few wealthy people, who clamored even more fiercely. Their idea is actually very simple, they just want Lian Peng and Ge Zhou to try the stones. The purpose is to test whether there are any treasures among these objects. If treasures can be produced in succession, it means that these objects are indeed extraordinary, and they will naturally step forward to make a move. If no treasures are found several times in a row, then they will not make a move. Let this young sect master take a look. Seeing that Ge Zhou had won Yan Ruyu's favor, Lian Peng's face turned livid, he snorted coldly, and came to the Wangli wooden table. He looked back and forth several times, and finally, he chose an object the size of a human head. This is the one. This object is worth 20,000 silver coins, which is twice as expensive as the one Ge Zhou picked before. He paid the money readily, and the old man who opened the treasure immediately started opening the treasure in full view of everyone. After polishing, a strange kettle-shaped object appeared in front of everyone. This kettle has a very strange shape. The material is neither gold nor iron nor stone, but it makes a clang when struck. It is engraved with ancient inscriptions, and a sense of heavy history permeates it. What kind of treasure is this? Wouldn't it be a kettle? Impossible. Look at the inscriptions on it. They are very peculiar. They are clearly formation runes. Have you ever seen anyone engrave formation patterns on a kettle? Could it be a real treasure? Everyone was talking about it, their eyes widened, full of curiosity. This pattern. Qin Chen frowned, revealing a look of doubt. The texture on this is very complicated and strange, forming a peculiar formation pattern. Even Qin Chen couldn't understand it for a while. This should be the style before the Dark Ages. There are relics from before the Dark Ages in these Northwest 5 kingdoms. Qin Chen was shocked. The Dark Ages refers to an era tens of thousands of years ago on the Tianwu Continent. It is said that before the Dark Ages, experts gathered and strongmen emerged throughout the Tianwu Continent. There were even Saint Realm experts who surpassed the Emperor Realm. But at that time, for some reason, the world seemed to have changed. A large number of experts fell one after another, and the entire Tianwu Continent's structure changed drastically. Since then, Saint Realm experts have rarely appeared on the Tianwu Continent, until they completely disappeared. This period of history is called the Dark History in the historical records of the Tianwu Continent, and it has always been the truth that historians want to understand. However, there are very few records in history about the Dark Ages and before, as if they were erased. Many historians can only learn a few words from the historical records after the Dark Ages. Let me take a look. Master Yang took the kettle and studied it carefully. Everyone waited expectantly. Young Master Lian's item should be a real treasure from ancient times, but because of its age, the formation runes inside have been somewhat damaged. However, given its special material, it also has a certain historical value, and according to the formation pattern on it, it is at least a third-grade real treasure or higher. In addition, the formation pattern on it has extremely high reference value for some formation and weapon refining masters, so if it is put up for auction in an auction house, it should be no problem to sell it for 70 to 80,000 silver coins. In the end, Master Yang gave his evaluation. Hiss. Everyone suddenly gasped, raising from 20,000 to 70,000 or 80,000, which is more than 4 times the price. For a time, everyone looked at the many remaining objects on the Wangli wooden table, their eyes burning. Lian Peng was overjoyed when he heard Master Yang's words, and said, I only felt that this object was extraordinary before, but I didn't expect it to be a third-grade real treasure or higher. Miss Yan, I heard that you are quite accomplished in formations, so I will venture to offer this real treasure to you. If it can bring some inspiration to Miss Yan in formations, then this real treasure will have its value. Thank you, young Master Lian. Yan Ruyu smiled slightly and took the kettle treasure. Everyone knows that the Yan family is the leading formation family in Darky, and this kettle treasure is really valuable to the Yan family. Young Master Lian has good eyesight. He earned 50 to 60,000 silver coins in one turn. It's incredible. What's even more incredible is that young Master Lian casually offered this treasure as a gift. This is 70 to 80,000 silver coins, which ordinary small families can't afford even if they sell everything they own. That's just ordinary small families. The White Sword sect is one of the top sects in my Darky. With young Master Lian's status, he naturally doesn't care about these tens of thousands of silver coins. Hearing these words, the young sect Master Lian looked very proud. Qin Chen raised his eyebrows slightly. He stared at the kettle for a long time, and suddenly thought of something he had seen before, and a strange look suddenly appeared on his face. This thing, could it be that? Cough. At this time, Master Yang suddenly coughed, and everyone immediately quieted down, ready to listen to what Master Yang was going to say. Suddenly, young Master Chen, this urinal-like thing is actually worth 70 to 80,000 silver coins, isn't that nonsense? Isn't it just a broken pot? Zhang Ying, who was on the side, couldn't help but say after listening to everyone's praise. His voice was not loud, but it happened to be said when Master Yang coughed, and the whole scene was silent, so it clearly entered everyone's ears. Everyone's eyes swished and fell on Zhang Ying. What did this kid just say? Urinal. What a joke. Does this kid know the value of antiques? Moreover, this is a treasure personally appraised by Master Yang. With Master Yang's qualifications, how could he talk nonsense? Zhang Ying's face turned pale, and he also knew that he had caused trouble. He actually just wanted to say it quietly to Qin Chen, who would have expected that Master Yang would suddenly cough. This old man didn't cough earlier, didn't cough later, but coughed at this time, and immediately made him the target of public criticism. Cough cough. Everyone, I don't mean that. I mean, this thing looks like a urinal, but it's actually worth 70 to 80,000 silver coins. Sure enough, the treasure gambling industry can indeed make people rich. Zhang Ying's explanation only made things worse. Yan Ruyu, who was holding the kettle, suddenly looked extremely embarrassed and turned livid. Where did this pauper come from? He can't even afford to gamble, yet he dares to spout nonsense here. Yan Ruyu frowned slightly and snorted coldly. Indeed. Master Yang, why allow such a person into the treasure pavilion? He's only disturbing our enjoyment. Young Master Lian also snorted, his face full of displeasure. To actually call the item he gifted a chamber pot was simply outrageous. Master Yang frowned, noticing Steward Zhu beside Qin Chen, and said coldly, Zhu Zheng, who are these people? If they're not participating in the treasure gambling, who allowed you to bring them here? Steward Zhu's forehead immediately broke out in a cold sweat. He hurriedly stepped forward and said, Master Yang, these three are young Master Chen and his friends. They are guests of our treasure pavilion and have just made purchases. Young Master Chen is the grandson of Prince Dingwu and the champion of this year's Heavenly Star Academy's year-end examination. As the saying goes, a guest is a guest, and our treasure pavilion is open for business. There's no reason to drive guests away. Steward Zhu's words not only explained Qin Chen's identity but also the reason for their presence. After all, in terms of status, he was far inferior to Master Yang. If the other party became enraged, he could be dismissed at any moment, forcing him to pack his bags and leave. HMPH. Although our treasure pavilion does business and welcomes all guests, not everyone is allowed to enter. There are some people we simply don't welcome. Master Yang snorted coldly. He was truly angered. In fact, the price he had previously stated was indeed somewhat exaggerated. After all, this was treasure gambling in his treasure pavilion. If he didn't exaggerate a little, who would come in the future? Who would spend money to gamble for treasures at his treasure pavilion? Now, an item gambled out by young Master Lian was actually called a chamber pot by someone else. If he didn't show some reaction, how would the treasure pavilion do business in the future? How would it establish itself in the royal capital? Did you hear that? Master Yang said you are not welcome. Steward Zhu, why haven't you driven these youngsters out of the treasure pavilion yet? You two bumpkins, if you don't understand, don't spout nonsense. How could you possibly understand treasures excavated from the sacred Luo realm? Nonsense. Many of the young men and women present, including some wealthy adults, immediately reacted as if they had seen their father's murderer, showering them with sarcastic remarks. Daring to question Master Yang's appraisal. They should take a piss and look at themselves in the mirror to see what kind of people they are. What kind of person was Master Yang? How could anything he said be false? Hearing the crowd's condemnation, Steward Zhu glanced at Master Yang and then at Qin Chen and his companions, his face revealing embarrassment as he found himself in a dilemma. Zhu Zheng, are you not going to drive these people out for me? Master Yang snorted again. Young Master Chen, did I say something wrong? Zhang Ying's face was pale, and he said somewhat nervously. Should we leave first? Lin Qian also said anxiously. Having offended the treasure appraisal master of the treasure pavilion, even their fathers would probably not dare to stay any longer. Since this treasure pavilion doesn't welcome us, then we'll leave. However, you weren't wrong just now. This water jug is indeed a chamber pot. It's a pity that some people are seeking fame and reputation, actually treating it as a genuine treasure. It's truly laughable. Qin Chen chuckled. Since others didn't welcome him, he wouldn't shamelessly stay. He turned to leave with Lin Qian and Zhang Ying. Stop right there. You dare to say that the genuine treasure appraised by this master is a chamber pot. If you don't explain yourself to this master today, don't even think about leaving my treasure pavilion. Suddenly, a terrifying pressure emanated, like a mountain, heavily pressing down on Qin Chen and his companions. Boom! Zhang Ying and Lin Qian's legs went weak. Under the impact of this pressure, they almost fell to the ground, their faces pale. If Qin Chen hadn't supported them, they would probably have already fallen to the ground. Even so, the robes on their backs were instantly soaked with cold sweat. Boy! Say that again if you have the guts. Master Yang's eyes widened in anger, like an enraged lion, his eyes like sharp swords, piercing towards Qin Chen. What? Are you not allowed to speak out if you appraise something incorrectly? A chamber pot is a chamber pot. No matter how eloquent you are, you can't turn it into a genuine treasure. Qin Chen turned around, looking directly into Master Yang's eyes. Under the pressure of his aura, he was not afraid at all, his gaze frank. My heavens, Qin Chen is crazy. He actually dares to speak to Master Yang like that. Hearing Qin Chen's words, everyone present was in an uproar, looking at Qin Chen with bewildered expressions. What Zhang Ying said earlier might have been a slip of the tongue, but now Qin Chen was clearly and explicitly stating that what Master Yang had appraised was a chamber pot. Chamber pot. My ass. This was Master Yang, the leading appraisal master in the royal capital, a guest elder of the treasure pavilion. How dare he say that the genuine treasure he appraised was a chamber pot? If he wanted to die, he didn't need to go to such extremes, right? A group of people looked at Qin Chen as if he were a ghost. What did you say? Master Yang obviously hadn't expected Qin Chen to actually dare to say it again. In his rage, he took a step forward, and an even more terrifying pressure came crashing down. Are you ashamed and angry because I exposed you? Do you want to resort to violence? If you have the guts, try it. I, Qin Chen, am not afraid of trouble. If you want to deceive people, go ahead, but don't try to act tough in front of me, Qin. Qin Chen said disdainfully. A mere chamber pot was actually described as a damaged genuine treasure. After being exposed by Zhang Ying, he actually became ashamed and angry. Where did he get the face to be so enraged? Audacious. Master Yang was furious, his face ashen, his gaze so gloomy that he almost wanted to kill someone. He took a deep breath and suppressed his anger, saying, "In my life, Yan Yan has seen countless treasures and appraised countless treasures. My knowledge is so vast that I rank among the top in the entire Great Qi Kingdom. How dare a mere child like you question me, Yang? HMPH. Why don't you inquire in the royal capital to see if I, Yang, have ever deceived anyone? If you don't explain yourself clearly today, I, This old man will definitely not let you off. That's right. How could Master Yang deceive anyone with his great reputation? Look at the array patterns on this object, this shape. It's clearly an ancient genuine treasure, but it's damaged due to the passage of time. If someone can repair the array patterns on it, they might be able to obtain an ancient exotic treasure. It's only because Master Yang has a good temper. If it were me, I would have killed anyone on the spot for calling an ancient genuine treasure I appraised a chamber pot. Ji Zhou, Lian Peng, and the others were enraged, as if they themselves had been insulted. Ranked among the top in the entire Great Qi Kingdom. I'm still ranked among the top in the entire heavenly martial continent. Qin Chen was speechless. As a mere appraiser from the small Great Qi Kingdom, what treasures could he have seen? He spoke so arrogantly, as if he knew all the treasures in the world. He should know that even he himself wouldn't dare to say that he fully understood the treasures of the ancient era. Boy, I'm considering that you're young and ignorant, and I'm not planning to pursue the matter too much. Yan Yan snorted, staring at Qin Chen, and said, Today, you have ruined the reputation of my treasure pavilion and myself, Yang, in this place. I don't want to do anything to you. As long as you kneel down in public and apologize to me, I can let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, no matter what your identity is, don't even think about leaving my treasure pavilion safely. Clang. Instantly, many guards rushed up to the second floor of the treasure pavilion, each glaring menacingly at Qin Chen and his companions, their eyes seemingly wanting to kill. At the same time, more and more customers were drawn to the second floor, and upon hearing about the situation, they looked at Qin Chen in shock. Qin Chen, who had just won the championship in the Sky Star Academy's year-end examination yesterday, was actually causing trouble in the treasure pavilion. As soon as this news came out, everyone was in an uproar. This was going to be a big deal. It seems you are planning to forcibly detain us. Qin Chen's expression darkened. HMPH. Everyone present has witnessed today's events. You first slandered our treasure pavilion. Do you think you can just walk away like this? Our treasure pavilion has been in business in the Great Qi Kingdom for over 100 years, relying on reputation and conscience. How can we allow you to slander us at will? Slander. Qin Chen shook his head. I am just stating a fact. There is no need for you and me to argue about the true purpose of this kettle. Just repair the array patterns on it, and the result will be known. Why waste words here? Repair the array patterns. Master Yang Yan sneered, coldly saying, This item has been appraised by this old man and is at least a genuine treasure from 10,000 years ago. The structure of the array patterns within is vastly different from the current array system. Not to mention our Great Qi Kingdom, even in the entire Northwest 5 kingdoms, I'm afraid it would be difficult for anyone to repair its array patterns in a short period of time. Your suggestion is simply a guilty conscience, wanting to muddle through by relying on unreasonable arguments. HMPH, there's no such easy thing. Saying this, Master Yang Yan cupped his hands towards the crowd. There must be many people present who have some understanding of array formations. You are welcome to observe this ancient treasure and see if these array patterns are ancient array formations. This child slandered me, Yang, and I naturally don't care, but our treasure pavilion is open for business. How can we allow others to slander us like this? Let me take a look. Hiss. These are indeed ancient array patterns. Look at these patterns, this technique, it is completely different from the current array path. Even in the recent history of the continent, there has never been such an array system with this kind of outlining technique. It is at least an item from 10,000 years ago. This was excavated from the Holy Luo secret realm, and coupled with its 10,000-year history, it is very likely to be some kind of damaged ancient treasure. To actually say that this kettle is a chamber pot, Qin Chen is indeed going too far. Everyone present was a prominent figure in the royal capital. Although many of them were not proficient in array patterns, they had some understanding of them, and they began to point and comment. Master Yang Yan is right. After careful observation, this young lady has determined that the array patterns on this item are of extremely high grade, at least at the 3rd level or above. How could it be a filthy object like a chamber pot? This person is speaking nonsense and uttering wild words, his heart is punishable. Yan Ruyu carefully observed the kettle in her hand for a moment and said coldly. Her voice was clear and echoed in the second-floor hall, instantly reaching everyone's ears, drawing a chorus of agreement. The Yan family is the #1 array family in our great Qi kingdom. It is said that Miss Yan Ruyu also has amazing talent in array formations. At only 18 years old, she is already a first-level array pattern master. In the future, she is very likely to inherit the mantle of the Yan family. What she says must be correct. Array patterns above the 3rd level, doesn't that mean that this item is at least a genuine treasure above the 3rd level? Hiss. Even if this kind of ancient treasure is damaged, if it is taken to an auction, it would be worth at least tens of thousands of silver coins. It is said that in ancient times, genuine treasures were abundant. There were many heaven-defying treasures such as pots and jars. According to historical records alone, there are the heaven-devouring demon jar, the emperor-slaying kettle, and the 1 Qi 3 purities kettle. Could this kettle be such a rare treasure? Hiss. If that's the case, even hundreds of millions of silver coins wouldn't be enough to buy it. This is a priceless treasure. The crowd was in an uproar, extremely excited. In modern history, there are not many pot-like treasures, but it is rumored that in ancient times, many weapon refiners liked to refine pot-like treasures. The most famous one is the emperor-slaying kettle. It is rumored that the emperor-slaying kettle only needs to be activated gently to be able to behead a martial emperor expert thousands of miles away, possessing unpredictable divine power. Those who come to the treasure pavilion to gamble on treasures are all people who want to gamble for ancient treasures. Now that they think of this possibility, each of them is so excited that they are almost reaching a climax. Everyone's eyes were burning with passion. Even Lian Peng, who sent out the kettle, was now faintly regretting that he shouldn't have been too reckless and sent out the treasure. If this thing is really a rare treasure like the emperor-slaying kettle, then he would simply regret it to the point of his intestines turning green. Hearing the crowd's discussion, Qin Chen couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Are these guys all idiots? What kind of treasure is the emperor-slaying kettle? That is the treasure of the great Emperor Changtian in ancient times, a legendary saint-level treasure. This broken kettle, although it is something from before the Dark Ages, was actually suspected of being the emperor-slaying kettle. Qin Chen was also drunk. These people are simply too imaginative and have gone crazy thinking about gambling for treasures. Qin Chen, why don't you just admit your mistake to the master? That's right, there's nothing shameful about a young man admitting his mistake. Returning after straying from the path is the right way. HMPH. Stop talking. This kid slandered Master Yang, not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. In my opinion, he should be given a lesson. Some people kindly dissuaded him, while others sneered, all waiting to watch the excitement and see the joke. Hey, kid. Since you said that the item selected by our young master Lian is a chamber pot, then prove it to everyone. If you can't prove it, then quickly kneel down and apologize, kowtow to Master Yang, young Master Lian, and Miss Yan to admit your mistake. Don't dawdle here, wasting everyone's time. Next to Lian Peng, a young man suddenly sneered in a strange tone. That's right, since you said that the treasure I appraised is not worth this price and is a chamber pot, then prove it to everyone. HMPH. But if you can't prove it and don't kneel down to admit your mistake, then don't blame this master for being impolite. Yang Yan's eyes shot out a cold light. Now that so many people have proven that Qin Chen slandered him, even Chu Weiken and others from the Sky Star Academy will have nothing to say when he teaches Qin Chen a lesson. Yes, prove it to everyone. If you don't have evidence, then don't talk nonsense and slander the master. Many people in the crowd sneered. Okay, I'll prove it then. Qin Chen sneered. Did the other party think that he couldn't prove it? How is it? You can't prove it, right? Since that's the case, then. Yang Yan's mouth curled into a cold smile, and he was saying triumphantly when he heard Qin Chen's words, almost biting his tongue off. His eyes widened, and he exclaimed, "You really want to prove it? Are you scared?" HMPH. How could I, Yang, be scared? Okay, you want to prove it. I will give you the opportunity to prove it. Yang Yan suppressed his anger and said, "Miss Yan Ruyu, please give him this treasure and see how he proves it." Yan Ruyu's beautiful eyebrows furrowed slightly. She looked at Qin Chen with a look of disgust in her eyes, handed the kettle over, and snorted coldly, "This is an ancient treasure, don't break it." Looking at her appearance, she really treated it as a treasure. Qin Chen's face showed a strange look, and he said, "I hope you can think so later." "What do you mean?" Yan Ruyu snorted coldly. Qin Chen did not answer, but only took the kettle, and then said loudly, "Does anyone have an array pattern pen? Please lend me one." Everyone who heard this was stunned, their faces showing strange expressions. Could this kid really be thinking of repairing this array pattern? What a joke. This is an ancient formation. In the entire Great Qi Kingdom, there are only a few who can understand it, let alone repair it. Could he be deliberately showing off? Humph. Boy. The young sect leader, have one here. If you can't prove your point later, see how I deal with you. He casually tossed over an array pattern pen. Lian Peng cracked his knuckles, looking ready to attack. Ignoring Lian Peng's ridicule, Qin Chen took the array pattern pen and carefully examined it for a moment. Then, his right hand became a blur, quickly making a few strokes on the surface of the kettle. After that, he threw the array pattern pen back to Lian Peng. "Why did you return the array pattern pen? Could it be that you've changed your mind? I knew it. You don't understand any formations at all, and you're just talking nonsense here." Lian Peng was stunned, then sneered. "Changed my mind, my ass. I've already repaired it." "What? Done? Done?" Everyone's eyes widened, as if they had seen a ghost. He just casually made a few strokes on the surface with the array pattern pen, and it's repaired. Is this kid crazy? If you don't believe me, you can try it. Qin Chen said, tossing the kettle back to Lian Peng. "Try it and see how I expose you, you liar." Lian Peng sneered. He didn't believe that Qin Chen could repair this ancient treasure just by casually making a few strokes with the array pattern pen. He casually channeled some true energy into the kettle, and Lian Peng sneered, "See, it's not repaired at all. It's lit up. The array pattern on it is lit up. Could it really be repaired?" Before Lian Peng could finish speaking, he heard a sudden uproar around him. Looking down, he saw that under his urging, the array pattern on the surface of the kettle suddenly appeared with a layer of hazy light. Scare. Lian Peng was shocked, his eyes almost popping out. "It's actually really repaired. How did this kid do it?" Lian Peng was dumbfounded. Master Yang was stunned. Yan Ruyu was bewildered. Everyone was shocked. For a time, the sound of discussion soared to the sky, almost lifting the roof of the gathering treasure pavilion. "What else do you have to say?" Qin Chen shook his head. "Humph. You just repaired the array pattern with a fluke. What's so great about it? Just this can't prove that the thing in my hand is the chamber pot you said it was." Lian Peng said angrily. "That's right." Everyone nodded. So far, except for the array pattern lighting up, the entire object in Lian Peng's hand has not shown any special characteristics, and it can't explain the purpose of this thing at all. Qin Chen didn't answer, and went directly to a table on the side, picked up a teacup used by the gathering treasure pavilion to entertain guests, and splashed it fiercely towards Lian Peng. "What do you want to do? Are you so ashamed that you want to commit violence?" Lian Peng was startled. Just as he was about to dodge, a magical scene happened. The mouth of the kettle in Lian Peng's hand suddenly produced a suction force, sucking all the tea in the air into the kettle. Qin Chen splashed a few more cups in a row. As long as water entered within 2 meters of the kettle's mouth, it would be instantly sucked away, like a dragon sucking water, without leaving a single drop. Everyone has seen it, right? Do I still need to explain? Qin Chen said. Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. Could it really be a chamber pot? Lian Peng also had a disgusted look on his face. That's not right. Suddenly, Lian Peng seemed to have thought of something, and said excitedly, "Being able to absorb things, the pot-shaped object in my hand is very likely to be a space-type treasure." His eyes were shining with different colors, and he was so excited that he couldn't be more excited, and said, "It is said that in ancient times, there was a space-type treasure called Chankan Bag, which could absorb all kinds of things. The kettle in my hand is very likely to be the kind of treasure." Wow! Everyone was in an uproar. This is not impossible. If the kettle in Lian Peng's hand is really a space-type treasure like Chang'an bag, then the value will be great. You must know that in the Great Qi Kingdom, even the smallest storage ring is worth more than 100,000 silver coins, and it is still priceless. How much is such a large space kettle worth? I'm afraid it's immeasurable. PFFT. Laughter came from the side, but it was Qin Chen. What are you laughing at? Lian Peng said angrily. Try it and see if this kettle can absorb other things besides water. Lian Peng was stunned. In front of everyone, Lian tried it, and then his face became more and more ugly. As Qin Chen said, apart from tea, the suction generated by the kettle was ineffective against other things. Even if it's not a Chang'an bag, it's not necessarily a chamber pot. It's very likely to be a treasure like a wine pot with a separate space. Lian Peng said to himself. Everyone nodded. It's not impossible. It can only absorb water, and it may also be a wine pot. Qin Chen looked strange and said, then try to reverse the activation of the formation and try. Reverse activation. Lian Peng was stunned and hummed, is there any difference? He subconsciously activated it in reverse. The next moment. PFFT. A stream of yellow liquid spewed out of the kettle's mouth. Lian Peng was caught off guard and was immediately splashed all over his head and face, and his whole body was wet. Ah! It smells so bad. Why does this water smell so bad? Ouch! A fishy and smelly smell permeated the second floor of the Gathering Treasure Pavilion. Everyone couldn't help but cover their noses and vomit. The most tragic thing was Lian Peng, who was splashed with smelly water and suddenly exuded a burst of stench. He bent over and vomited non-stop, almost going crazy. Young Master Chen, Lin Qian and Zhang Ying were stunned, with dazed expressions. How could this happen? This kettle was a chamber pot in ancient times. I don't know how many people have peed in it. The space inside is very closed under the blessing of the formation, so even if tens of thousands of years have passed, the stench inside has not dissipated. Just now I absorbed so much tea, mixed with the stench, and what spewed out was naturally urine. Qin Chen waved his hand innocently. Lian Peng has made a lot of money. He actually drank the urine of ancient people tens of thousands of years ago. This is a cultural relic and is of great value. Ouch! Everyone's faces turned green, and they vomited even more fiercely. Lian Peng's eyes turned green when he heard this, and his whole body trembled, and even his bile came out. Not long after, the guys from the Gathering Treasure Pavilion carried a bucket of water, and Lian Peng jumped into it and washed for a long time, but there was still a fishy smell coming. That disgusting smell, like maggots on the bones, could not be dissipated no matter what. Ah! I'm going to kill you. Jumping out of the bucket, Lian Peng pounced on Qin Chen in a rage. Qin Chen was not surprised or panicked. Seeing through the flaws in Lian Peng's attack, he suddenly kicked Lian Peng in the chest, kicking him out, lying on the ground like a dead fish. Seeing this scene, Li Qingfeng's eyes were horrified. Lian Peng is a peak powerhouse in the middle stage of the Earth realm. Even if he didn't use his full strength in a rage, he shouldn't have been kicked out by Qin Chen. Has this son's cultivation improved again overnight? Oh, right. Miss Yan. This chamber pot was just borrowed from you, I'm returning it now. Qin Chen stomped his foot on the ground, and with a dong sound, a burst of true energy shot out from underground, sending the chamber pot flying towards Yan Ruyu. Yan Ruyu's face changed drastically, and she hurriedly hid to the side. With a clang sound, she let it fall to the ground, as if avoiding a venomous snake. Huh, didn't Miss Yan just warn me not to damage your beloved treasure? Why aren't you catching it now? If it breaks, it's not my fault. You. Yan Ruyu's face flushed red with anger, and she hurriedly took out a handkerchief, constantly wiping the hands that had held the chamber pot. The thought of holding a chamber pot just now made her want to find a crack in the ground to hide in. Master Yang, what else do you have to say now? A broken chamber pot, you actually called it an ancient treasure, valuing it at 70 or 80,000. If this isn't fraud, what is? Qin Chen looked at Yang Yan with a playful expression. Is this how your Jubao pavilion does business? At this moment, Yang Yan's face turned pale and then green, and he didn't know what to say. HMPH. There are many rare treasures in the world, and no one can possibly recognize them all. You're just lucky, having seen an introduction to this item somewhere, and you were fortunate enough to recognize it. What's so arrogant about that? At least the enchanting jade that young Master Ge selected just now is genuine. Master Yang snorted coldly and said angrily. Upon hearing this, everyone nodded in agreement. Ancient artifacts are indeed very rare, and it's impossible to recognize them all completely. Master Yang occasionally misidentifying one can only be said to be an accident, and it doesn't mean that his appraisal ability is poor. That's right, we believe in Master Yang. The master just appraised the enchanting jade for me. You just recognized one item by luck, what's so great about that? Yan Ruyu also reprimanded Qin Chen loudly, with a look of disgust. Oh, is that so? Qin Chen smiled. Take out that enchanting jade you just had, and try injecting true energy to activate it. Yan Ruyu was stunned. Everyone's expressions also revealed a strange look. Could it be that there was also a problem with the enchanting jade? Try it, then. Yan Ruyu sneered. She had seen clearly just now that the enchanting jade was indeed an extraordinary treasure and could not be a filthy object. She didn't believe that Qin Chen could make anything else out of it. Taking out the enchanting jade, Yan Ruyu injected true energy under the watchful eyes of everyone. Instantly, a soft green light spread out, and everyone around immediately felt a refreshing aura lingering. The previous stench seemed to have dissipated a lot. See, this item is. Yan Ruyu sneered, but before she could finish speaking, she heard a pop sound. The enchanting jade bead in her hand suddenly cracked, and then with a bang sound, it shattered into powder and scattered on the ground. Everyone was dumbfounded. What exactly is going on here? Could it be that this enchanting jade is also fake? Everyone was shocked, while Master Yang was about to go crazy. He had appraised it just now, and the thing in Yan Ruyu's hand was indeed an enchanting jade. How could it suddenly shatter? You kid are cheating. Yan roared angrily, not daring to believe his eyes. I'm cheating. With so many eyes watching, how can you say I'm cheating? Qin Chen sneered. This piece of jade is indeed an enchanting jade, but it's a ruined enchanting jade. The preservation of enchanting jade is extremely difficult. After tens of thousands of years, the essence within has long been lost. On the surface, it looks intact, but in reality, it's just a piece of waste stone. It can be said to be beautiful on the outside but worthless on the inside. Master Yang, as the chief appraiser of Jubao Pavilion, you should be clear about this principle, right? I don't know a damn thing. Hearing this, Master Yang staggered, almost spitting out a mouthful of blood. Enchanting jade only existed in ancient times, and it's rarely seen on the continent now. He had only seen it in ancient records, so how would he know that it's difficult to preserve? If he had known it was ruined, he definitely wouldn't have said that. But at this time, Master Yang couldn't deny it, nor could he admit it. Denying it would mean that he didn't understand enchanting jade at all, and the identity and authority of the appraisal master would definitely be greatly reduced. Admitting it would be clearly saying that he knew it was a piece of waste stone and deliberately quoted a high price to swindle everyone. Master Yang, you knew that this was a piece of waste stone, but not only did you not point it out, but you deceived everyone and valued this piece of waste stone at 50,000 silver coins. I wonder what your intentions are. Seeing that Yan didn't speak for a long time, Qin Chen pretended to be puzzled and said. Although Qin Chen didn't explicitly say that Yan was deceiving everyone, the crowd wasn't stupid. How could they not understand the reason behind this? Master Yang wouldn't be deliberately deceiving us, would he? Yeah. He valued a ruined jade at 50,000, and a broken chamber pot at 80,000. This is. Alas. With Master Yang's insight, it's impossible for him not to see it. The only possibility is that he knew it was bad and deliberately quoted such a high price. Indeed. Even Qin Chen could see the problem, how could Master Yang not see it? Absolutely no reason. I didn't expect Master Yang to be such a person. We used to trust him so much. We really misjudged him. If it was just one mistake, it would be understandable. After all, Master Yang couldn't be 100% correct. But now that there are two fakes all of a sudden, people can't help but overthink. Hearing everyone's words, Yan wanted to cry but had no tears. He really wanted to jump out and shout, "I really don't recognize it." But he couldn't say that. He could only suffer in silence, unable to speak out his grievances. "Let me see the treasures from the St. Luo secret realm." Qin Chen came to the Wangli wood table, picked up an item at random, weighed it, and said, a broken bowl, priced at 12,000. This is a broken jar, priced at 20,000. Oh, there's nothing inside at all, but it's priced at 30,000. Black. It's just too black. Qin Chen touched each item one by one, shaking his head as he touched them. The relics from before the Dark Ages piqued Qin Chen's interest. While pretending to mock them, he was actually carefully identifying the things inside. "Boy, what nonsense are you talking about?" Yan Yan said furiously. More and more guests were gathering on the second floor. If this continued, the reputation of their Jubao pavilion would be ruined. "I'm just telling the truth," Qin Chen shook his head and said. "HMPH, you can't find anything by touching it casually. This is a slander against my Jubao pavilion." Yan Yan was about to be driven mad. Even if this kid's appraisal ability is strong, how could he be able to identify the things inside without careful examination? He's just maliciously sabotaging. Picking up the first piece of rough stone at random, Yan Yan slammed it hard on the ground and said angrily, "You said there's a broken bowl inside. Okay, if there isn't, Yang, will definitely sue you for slander." Bang! The rough stone smashed on the ground and shattered instantly. The thing hidden under the rock was also revealed. It was actually a broken bowl, which was shattered into rubble by Yan Yan's smash. Everyone was stunned, staring blankly at Yan Yan. Yan Yan was like a duck with its neck pinched, dumbfounded, unable to speak for a long time. It was actually a broken bowl. Why would it be a broken bowl? At this moment, Yan Yan was on the verge of tears. Did it have to be so unfair? Was there no justice? Everyone on the field was also dumbfounded. This Qin Chen was simply amazing. Could it be that this person was hiding his strength and was actually a treasure appraisal master? But even if he started practicing treasure appraisal from his mother's womb, it would only be a little over 10 years. Qin Chen touched the objects on the Wanghuili wood table one by one, and with a slight sweep of his mental power, he knew what the things inside were, and couldn't help but shake his head. On this Wanghuili wood table, there were basically no treasures. All of them were broken copper and scrap iron, or broken old pottery jars. Occasionally, there were some treasures that could be considered decent, but they were just some relatively rare ancient materials, not particularly precious. Shaking his head, Qin Chen was about to turn around and leave when he suddenly touched the last item. This item was wrapped in thick rock and moss, and was long and slender, like a weapon. The moment Qin Chen's hand touched it, before he could even scan it with his mental power. Suddenly, boom! Qin Chen's mind jolted violently, and above the Sea of Souls, that mysterious ancient book suddenly appeared, emitting a brilliant glow. Rumble! At the same time, Qin Chen felt a violent roar coming from the long strip object in his hand, resonating with the glow of the mysterious ancient book, shaking his body violently, almost unable to hold it. The whole process came quickly and went quickly. Before Qin Chen could react, the mysterious ancient book disappeared again, sinking into the Sea of Souls. What is this? Qin Chen was shocked and quickly looked at the long strip object in his hand. With a sweep of his mental power, he found that it contained a rusty sword. The entire iron sword was covered in rust, almost broken, and completely unrecognizable. But Qin Chen knew that any treasure that could make the mysterious ancient book appear was definitely extraordinary. Well, this thing is not bad. Let me see. The price is 20,000 silver coins. Steward Zhu, give. Qin Chen was shocked in his heart, but his face was as usual, and he casually took out 20,000 silver coins from his body and handed them to Steward Zhu. This. Steward Zhu was stunned. Yan Yan and the others were also dumbfounded. Qin Chen had just severely belittled the Jubeilu. How could he suddenly start buying these things in front of him? There must be something strange. Wait! Yan Yan hurriedly shouted in a low voice. Just as he was about to stop Steward Zhu, he saw Steward Zhu with a blank expression, already foolishly taking Qin Chen's 20,000 silver notes. Hold on, we haven't said we're selling this thing to you yet. Zhu Zheng, quickly return the money in your hand. Yang Yan shouted sharply. Everyone was stunned. What was wrong with Master Yang? It was a good thing that others wanted to buy things from Jubeilu. Immediately, seeing Yang Yan's scorching gaze, everyone suddenly understood and looked at the object in Qin Chen's hand. This Qin Chen's treasure appraisal ability was superb. He could easily identify the treasures wrapped in rough stones. Could it be that the long strip object in his hand was actually some kind of treasure? For a time, everyone's eyes became fiery. What? So-called one hand pays the money, one hand delivers the goods. I have already paid the money for this item to Jubeilu, and Jubeilu has also accepted it, then this item already belongs to me. Does Jubeilu still want to go back on its word? Qin Chen's face sank and he said coldly. Yang is not what you mean. Yang Yan hurriedly said, to buy treasures in my Jubeilu, it must be approved by my Jubeilu. Just now, this old man has not agreed yet, so how can it be considered selling this thing to you? Don't be unreasonable, quickly put this thing down. Yang Yan was anxious and angry. Need to be approved by your Jubeilu. Ha ha ha, this young master has never heard of such a rule for gambling treasures. The so-called gambling treasures are all clearly marked prices. As long as you pay the money, the item belongs to the customer. Now that your Jubeilu has received the money, you want the customer to spit out the things. There is no such easy thing. Oh, I understand. Suddenly, Qin Chen seemed to understand something and sneered coldly. So your Jubeilu is holding the so-called gambling treasure conference just to let the dignitaries of the royal capital come to try the treasures. If you gamble on garbage, your Jubeilu will deliberately raise the price, making customers think they have made a profit. If you gamble on treasures, your Jubeilu will take back the treasures in the name of unsuccessful transactions. TSK, the largest treasure pavilion in the Darky Kingdom, is actually doing such despicable things. It seems that I am too naive. As soon as Qin Chen said this, the audience was in an uproar and discussed with each other. Indeed, the so-called gambling treasure, as long as the buyer pays the money, the item no longer belongs to the seller, and whatever is gambled out in the future has nothing to do with the seller. Now Jubeilu just wants to forcibly take back the item he sold because Qin Chen's treasure appraisal ability is strong, which is simply unreasonable. It seems that this Jubeilu is indeed deceiving people. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, Yang Yan's face turned green. If this continues, Jubeilu's reputation will be completely ruined. How will they gain a foothold in the royal capital in the future? Everyone, listen to my explanation, it's not like this at all. Yang Yan hurriedly wanted to explain, but was interrupted by Qin Chen. Pa! He slammed the long strip object in his hand on the ground, and Qin Chen sneered, it's not what you mean, what is it? If your Jubeilu insists on forcibly taking back the item in Qin's hand, Qin has nothing to say. I can only blame Qin for not knowing the shop clearly. I thought that a century-old shop like Jubeilu would not do things that deceive people. Now that I think about it, Qin is too stupid and naive. Crack! With such a smash from Qin Chen, the long strip object in his hand instantly cracked, revealing the rusty iron sword inside. Gah! It's actually a rusty sword. The treasure this kid bought in a hurry turned out to be a rusty sword. Could it be that he made a mistake? Seeing the half-exposed rusty sword in Qin Chen's hand, everyone was stunned, some couldn't believe their eyes. Even Yang Yan was dumbfounded. Cough cough. He quickly regained his arrogant look, waved his sleeves, and a kind of lofty momentum arose spontaneously, and said casually, Your Excellency, I think you have made a mistake. My Jubeilu does business fairly. Since Your Excellency has already paid to buy it, how can my Jubeilu take it back? The reason why I called to stop just now was just to tell Your Excellency not to worry. After all, how can my Jubeilu sell things and let Your Excellency go back empty-handed? After saying this, he took a long breath in his heart. It was just a rusty iron sword. Seeing that the kid was so anxious just now, he thought it was some kind of treasure, and almost ruined Jubeilu's reputation. Fortunately, this kid accidentally broke the stone skin and revealed the rusty sword, otherwise he would have been tricked by this kid. The sword box is unnecessary. I have other matters to attend to. Farewell. Zhang Ying, Lin Qian, let's go. With a wave of his hand, Qin Chen turned and walked out. The matter was resolved, and the treasure weapon he wanted to buy was already in hand. Qin Chen knew that if he stayed any longer, there would only be more trouble, so it was better to leave. He figured that Jubao House wouldn't dare to stop him. All right, young Master Chen. Zhang Ying and Lin Tian both had excited expressions on their faces, closely following Qin Chen's footsteps. Today, the two of them had witnessed a great show, and the excitement in their hearts was beyond compare. There were too many things they wanted to ask Qin Chen. Sure enough, seeing Qin Chen and the others leave, Yan Yan and the others didn't even have the courage to stop them. He was currently in a state of anxiety, not knowing how to alleviate Jubao House's crisis. Seeing Qin Chen leave with the rusty sword, Yan Yan suddenly had an idea. Everyone, listen to my explanation. This time, it was due to my carelessness that I didn't identify the effects of the enchanting jade and that kettle. Here, I, Yan Yan, must apologize to everyone. However, I absolutely do not agree with this person's claim that the items Jubao House offers are all trash. Yan Yan said righteously, this batch of items was obtained by Jubao House at a great cost from the St. Luo secret realm. From that, kettle, you can see that they are all genuine ancient artifacts. This person was just lucky to have identified a few items. Please, everyone, do not be deceived. If this person were truly a treasure appraisal master, how could he be so blind as to buy a rusty sword as a treasure? From this, it can be seen that this person is just someone who seeks fame by deception. Please, everyone, do not believe his words. As for Jubao House's reputation, you have all witnessed it in the past. Yan Yan's words were passionate and enthusiastic, causing everyone to discuss. Although everyone was dissatisfied with Yan Yan's two incorrect appraisals, Qin Chen's final choice of the rusty iron sword made everyone suspicious. Was Qin Chen really just lucky, as Yan Yan said, to have identified a few items? If that were the case, then Jubao House might not be too despicable. In this way, to repay everyone's love, I, Yan Yan, promise that today, no matter what you spend at Jubao House, you will receive a 20% discount. Following Yan Yan's words, it was like a blockbuster that exploded in the crowd. You must know that Jubao House has attracted a large number of dignitaries from the Darky Kingdom due to its great reputation, and the treasures are often in short supply. Therefore, it rarely does promotions. It is almost impossible to see discounts on weekdays. In everyone's impression, Jubao House usually only offers a 5% discount to VIPs with accumulated spending of more than 500,000 silver coins. Now that there was a 20% discount all of a sudden, everyone was immediately tempted. Taking advantage of such a good opportunity, wouldn't it be a huge loss if they didn't make a big purchase? The crowd was in an uproar. Seeing that a crisis of confidence was about to be resolved by himself, Yan Yan breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Looking at Qin Chen, who was about to walk down the stairs, a trace of indifference flashed in his eyes, and he sneered in his heart. I, Yan, have remembered this time. I will definitely repay it in the future. Who was it just now who said that the treasure weapons I, Leng Mo, refined are all trash? Stand out for me. Just then, a stern shout suddenly came from the staircase. Immediately afterward, a thin, middle-aged man wearing a second-tier weapon refiner's robe walked up from the first floor, his body filled with murderous aura, standing at the staircase. As soon as he stood there, he blocked Qin Chen's path, his two big eyes, like copper bells, coldly staring at the crowd, his anger erupting. It's Master Leng Mo from the weapon hall. Why is he here? The crowd was in an uproar. The person who came was Jubao House's chief weapon refiner, the renowned second-grade weapon refiner from the weapon hall, Master Leng Mo. This Leng Mo was also considered to have a not weak reputation in the Darky Kingdom. He had already broken through to become a second-tier weapon refiner more than 10 years ago. Over the past 10 years, he had refined many treasure weapons and was well known in the royal capital. As long as they were powerful martial artists who had been in the royal capital, almost all of them had heard of his name. Relying on Jubao House these years, Leng Mo's momentum was in full swing, and his temper naturally became very arrogant. Just now, he was refining a treasure weapon in the weapon hall when he heard the news that someone he refined were trash, and he was immediately furious. He stopped refining and rushed over. He wanted to see what kind of person dared to say that the treasure weapons he, Leng Mo, refined were trash. Master Leng Mo, it was this Qin Chen who said that the treasure weapons you refined, Master, are all trash. Suddenly, a voice rang out. It was Lian Peng, who had been kicked to the ground by Qin Chen and had only managed to climb up after a long time. The pair of eyes he used to look at Qin Chen were full of resentment. That's right, Master Leng Mo, we all heard it too. This person know you refined are ordinary and he doesn't think much of them. Ge Zhou also said ferociously. Master Leng Mo, this little girl also heard it just now. It was indeed Qin Chen who said it. It's really too much. Master, you are the leading weapon refiner in my royal capital. I don't know where this person got the courage to say such a thing. Too presumptuous, simply lawless. Yan Ruyu and the others had long been extremely dissatisfied with Qin Chen. At this time, they repeatedly spoke up, all saying, obviously wanting to put Qin Chen to death. It's you. Leng Mo's eyes showed a cold light as he stared at Qin Chen, his face revealing a look of disdain. He thought it was someone who dared to speak wildly in Jubao House, but he didn't expect it to be just an inexperienced teenager. However, Leng Mo was not so quick to believe everyone's words. He cupped his hands at Yang Yan and said, so Master Yang is also here. Leng Mo pays his respects. May I ask Master Yang, is what everyone said true? Master Yang and he both worked at Jubao House, so he thought his words should be true. Master Yang rolled his eyes, a sinister smile in his heart. Qin Chen, Qin Chen, let you be arrogant just now. Let's see what you do now. Leng Mo is not like me, who has to take care of Jubao House's reputation. He is not afraid of anyone who wants to slander the treasure weapons he refines. Hearing this, Leng Mo's expression finally turned gloomy. Boy, what else do you have to say? Whose child are you? How dare you slander Leng Mo's works? If you don't give a reason today, don't blame Leng Mo for being ruthless. The powerful force, like a mountain, was heavily suppressed on Qin Chen, like a volcano about to erupt, about to explode. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying took a step back together. With such a powerful aura, the two of them felt as if they were in a storm, feeling a sense of difficulty breathing. They had to look at Qin Chen. You've got the wrong person. Qin has never said that your treasure weapon is trash. Qin Chen frowned and said indifferently. HMPH, Qin Chen, stop trying to weasel your way out of it. You clearly said earlier that the treasures on this second floor were all very ordinary. Why are you denying it now? That's right. We all heard it loud and clear. Could it be that you have the guts to say it but not the guts to admit it? The one who received you just now was this manager Zhu. Everyone heard what happened. Do you still want to argue? Lian Peng and the others had been waiting to see Qin Chen suffer, so how could they let him weasel out of it? They spoke one after another like machine guns. Qin, would never deny what I've done. Qin Chen shook his head. But I really didn't say that the treasures you refined were trash, however. They are indeed just so-so. Qin Chen sighed. Considering that the Great Qi Kingdom was located in such a remote area, the treasures that Leng Mo refined might not necessarily be considered trash, but to say they were good was absolutely impossible. Silence. Deathly silence. Everyone stared blankly at Qin Chen, as if they had seen a ghost. Everyone originally thought that Qin Chen would try to argue, but who knew, he would actually say, just so-so, in front of Grandmaster Leng Mo. Just so-so, my foot. This was Grandmaster Leng Mo, one of the most established second-tier weapon refiners in the weaponry pavilion. If the second-tier treasures he refined were just so-so, then there probably wouldn't be many refiners in the entire Great Qi Kingdom who could be considered good. Grandmaster Leng Mo, did you hear that? This kid is still saying that the treasures you refined are just so-so at this point. It's simply too much. He simply doesn't respect you at all. I can't stand it anymore. I really can't stand it anymore. Grandmaster Leng Mo has a noble status and skillful techniques. What qualifications does this kid have to say that the treasures you refined are just so-so? Damn it. Daring to slander Grandmaster Leng Mo is punishable by death. Grandmaster Leng Mo, don't let this kid off. The crowd erupted, and many people were filled with righteous indignation, shouting angrily. Among them, Lian Peng, Ge Zhou, and the others had flushed faces and were so excited that they were about to reach climax. Courting death. Boom. Leng Mo also flew into a rage, and a terrifying force erupted from his body, slamming into Qin Chen and the other two. Step, step, step. Lin Tian and Zhang Ying looked horrified, their figures retreating, their steps staggering, almost falling to the ground. But Qin Chen's body remained motionless, like a rock. Why the need to be angry? What I said is just the truth. Now that I've said it, can you please step aside and let us leave? Qin Chen said indifferently. Leave. Ha ha. Leng Mo laughed in anger. You slandered me, and you still want to leave. Slander. Isn't that the truth? HMPH. The second-tier treasures I refine may not be unparalleled in the Great Qi Kingdom, but they are still top-notch. What qualifications do you have to say that the treasures I refine are just so-so? Leng Mo's face was as red as a pig's liver, and his whole body was filled with murderous intent, like a demon god. If you don't explain yourself clearly today, no matter what your identity or background is, you will not escape death. Young Master Chen. Lin Tian and Zhang Ying exclaimed and rushed up. Qin Chen waved his hand and said indifferently, you want evidence? Fine. I'll give it to you. Coming to the weapon display case on the left, Qin Chen casually picked up a white longsword. This longsword was 3 feet 3 inches long and 2 fingers wide, and its entire body was snow white. The surface of the sword was like a mirror, reflecting light. With a gentle shake, a chilling aura immediately permeated out, and the temperature of the entire hall seemed to drop several degrees out of thin air, freezing to the bone. It was precisely the ice-glazed sword that Manager Zhu had introduced to Qin Chen earlier. This ice-glazed sword should be refined by you, right? Qin Chen said. That's right, Leng Mo said proudly. This ice-glazed sword was one of his more satisfactory products. That's good, Qin Chen said lightly. This sword is of the second tier. The main material is Arctic cold iron, combined with ice soul stone. Both of these materials are cold attribute materials. The combination of the two is obviously to increase the ice attribute of the sword. However, as everyone knows, Arctic cold iron is one of the more brittle types of cold iron, and ice soulstone also has extremely low toughness and is prone to shattering. Longswords forged from these two materials are easily broken. Am I right? What you say is not wrong, but so what? Do you think I wouldn't know this simple principle? Leng Mo snorted coldly. You've only learned some weapon refining knowledge from somewhere, and you dare to spout nonsense here. Do you think I would make such a low-level mistake? Hee. You didn't make this mistake. In order to improve the toughness and ductility of the longsword, you added another material, Aurora sand, when forging this sword. Aurora sand can indeed greatly improve the fusion between Arctic cold iron and ice soulstone and increase the toughness of the sword, but Aurora sand has a very special hidden attribute, which is that it carries the fire attribute. Adding a material with a hidden fire attribute to two cold attribute materials is problematic. Qin Chen shook his head. Ha. Is this your insight? Leng Mo couldn't help laughing disdainfully when he heard this. Little brat, you don't know where you learned your weapon refining knowledge from, but you dare to confuse people here. How could you know the essence of Leng's refinement of this sword? That's right, I did add Aurora sand, but I am aware of the hidden fire attribute of Aurora sand. You've only seen the surface. How could you know the design I made to eliminate the characteristics of Aurora sand? That design is the most essential part of my refinement of this ice-glazed sword. Leng Mo looked at Qin Chen as if he were looking at an idiot. You're talking about the inscription on this ice-glazed sword, right? Before Leng Mo could finish his self-satisfaction, Qin Chen suddenly interrupted him. Inputting a stream of true energy, white array patterns suddenly appeared on the ice-glazed sword in Qin Chen's hand, forming a complex array diagram, exuding an even more brilliant cold ice aura. The temperature of the entire second floor dropped several degrees again, causing everyone to feel as if they were in an ice cellar. The second tier gathering cold array, fire dispersion array, and yin-yang array. Old man, you put in a lot of effort. Qin Chen's tone was full of sarcasm. The purpose of this fire dispersion array is to remove the fire attribute in the Aurora sand, right? The purpose of the yin-yang array is to make the combination of several materials more perfect. As for the gathering cold array, it is to maximize the cold ice attribute of Arctic cold iron and ice soul stone. But old man, don't you know that the array patterns between the fire dispersion array and the gathering cold array conflict? Conflict? What conflict? Leng Mo sneered. A powerful weapon refiner must not only understand weapon refining knowledge, but also have essential array knowledge. I am not only a second-tier weapon refiner, but also a second-tier array master. Could it be that my understanding of arrays is not as good as yours, a little brat? Is that so? Then can you, this second-tier array master, tell me how you inscribed the gathering cold array and the fire dispersion array? Qin Chen smiled coldly. For weapons like longswords, the sword body is narrow, and the stability of the materials must be guaranteed, so the number of arrays that can be inscribed on it is not large. And few people know that the gathering cold array and the fire dispersion array cannot be inscribed in the same place, because there are subtle conflicts in the operation of the array patterns between them. Therefore, it is impossible to create a complete version of these two arrays on the sword body. If I'm not mistaken, you've simplified both formations, sir. The simplified areas are the 3rd, 5th, and 7th formation zones of the gathering cold formation, and the 1st, 2nd, and 5th formation zones of the scattering fire formation. These 6 zones have some similarities in their array patterns. With simple modifications, the 2 array patterns can be made harmonious without affecting the formation's operational effectiveness. With each sentence Qin Chen spoke, Leng Mo's face darkened. By the time Qin Chen finished, his face was as black as the bottom of a pot. At the same time, the shock in his heart was like a raging storm. Because what Qin Chen said was completely correct. When he was refining the ice-glazed sword, he did indeed modify the gathering cold formation and the scattering fire formation, and the modified parts were exactly the same as Qin Chen had stated. However, this change was extremely subtle. Even a 3rd-tier array master might not be able to see it in a hurry. How did this kid figure it out in such a short period of time? Suppressing the shock in his heart, Leng Mo said coldly, even if what you say is true, so what? The array patterns after my modification are perfect, and they perfectly combine the 3 materials without any flaws. So what? Ha, you really have the nerve to say that. The modified scattering fire formation will have a 20% loss in dissolving fire attributes. This 20% loss doesn't matter in other places, but on this ice-glazed sword, it's an extremely serious mistake. Raising the long sword, Qin Chen explained to everyone, in the short term, you can't see the problem with this ice-glazed sword, but after using it a few times, the problem will erupt. First of all, the seemingly perfect fusion of the modified gathering cold formation and scattering fire formation actually has unstable array patterns. After repeated operation, the entire formation will become ineffective. Secondly, the modified scattering fire formation cannot maximize the dissolution of the Aurora Sands fire attribute, which will then lead to the instability of the entire sword's material structure. The final result is that the entire sword will suddenly shatter during battle, causing a serious backlash of true energy. In battle, once a weapon breaks and true energy backlashes, everyone should know the consequences, right? Qin Chen looked at Leng Mo indifferently. Even some true array masters dare not easily fuse the gathering cold formation and the scattering fire formation. You, a small second-tier weapon refiner, dare to arbitrarily modify them. You're really bold. You, nonsense, utter nonsense. Grandmaster Leng Mo's pupils shrank suddenly, his beard and hair bristling with anger, his eyes bulging like copper bells. The shock in his heart was like an earthquake. He wanted to refute, but he didn't know how to refute. Qin Chen's introduction of every step of the ice-glazed sword was exactly the process he used to refine it. This person seemed to have been standing next to him watching when he was refining the ice-glazed sword, knowing his refining process so clearly. Could this person be a ghost? Grandmaster Leng Mo was shocked, and everyone present was even more dumbfounded. Among the people present, most of them didn't know much about weapon refining, but that didn't prevent them from appraising a weapon. Moreover, from Grandmaster Leng Mo's attitude, everyone could see that what Qin Chen said was very likely to be true. Damn it, this ice-glazed sword is actually a weapon with serious flaws. Did Grandmaster Leng Mo have to be such a pit? No one doesn't know how much impact a flawed treasure weapon will have on a martial artist. When fighting with a relatively poor treasure weapon, at most the increase in one's own strength will be less. But once the situation Qin Chen said occurs in battle, it will definitely be a situation where the sword is destroyed and the person dies. Do you think such a treasure weapon can be called a fine product? Saying it's so is already overestimating this sword. Even calling it trash is probably not an exaggeration. Qin Chen shook his head as he spoke. HMPH. That's just your nonsense. The fusion of the gathering cold formation and the scattering fire formation is just your one-sided statement. There's no evidence at all. Moreover, even if there is, it's just an accident. Recovering from the shock, Leng Mo hurriedly shouted angrily. In the crowd, Yan Ruyu looked at Qin Chen in shock, her eyes bulging like two eggs. Because she clearly knew that what Qin Chen said was indeed true. The Yan family is a family of array formations. The gathering cold formation and the scattering fire formation are two relatively common formations in the second-tier formations. Therefore, the Yan family has done a lot of research on them. The great elder of the Yan family once saw the commonalities between the two formations and tried to fuse the two formations, but found that no matter how they were fused, the formations could not be completely stabilized. Perhaps nothing could be seen at first, but after repeated operation, the entire formation would collapse. Moreover, after the gathering cold formation and the scattering fire formation are combined, the effect of the scattering fire formation will indeed decrease by about 20%. It's just that these research contents are all confidential in the Yan family. How did this Qin Chen know about it? Could it be that his attainments in array formations are even stronger than the Great Elder? Is that so? Just an accident. If the ice-glazed sword is an accident, then what about this blazing flame sword? Qin Chen picked up another crimson long sword next to him, which was also refined by Leng Mo. In order to increase the true energy-bearing capacity of this blazing flame sword, a small amount of ash stone was added. Ash stone is produced in the depths of volcanoes and has an extremely strong effect of bearing fire attribute power. It can indeed increase the fire-type true energy-bearing capacity of the blazing flame sword, but the main material of this blazing flame sword happens to be dragon flame steel. Although the fusion of dragon flame steel and ash stone increases the true energy-bearing capacity and enhances the bursting strength of the sword, it will damage the conductivity of true energy, which will weaken the defense of true energy. Once the opponent's attack exceeds the user's true energy strength, it will affect the user's safety instead. In addition, in order to enhance the power of the blazing flame sword, you even engraved 3 fire attribute formations on the sword, namely the first-tier melting fire formation, the second-tier bursting formation, and the second-tier returning fire formation. TSK, the true energy-bearing capacity of this blazing flame sword is already weak. With the influence of the returning fire formation, the only result of taking it out to fight is either killing someone with weaker true energy than oneself, or being killed by someone with stronger true energy than oneself. If a treasure weapon doesn't even have the effect of killing enemies beyond one's level, what's the use of a treasure weapon? Qin Chen talked eloquently. Everyone who watched was dumbfounded. Qin Chen could see the refining materials, production process, and the array patterns engraved on them so clearly just by looking at the ice-glazed sword and the blazing flame sword a few times. Is it really true or false? Even a third-tier weapon refiner might not have such ability, right? However, when everyone saw Grandmaster Leng Mo's stunned expression, they all understood that what Qin Chen said was probably true. Then there's this black iron sword. Black iron's characteristic is its extremely high strength. It fears no weapon of any hardness and is incredibly lethal. It's an excellent material in itself. The only drawback is that it's too heavy. Yet, in order to increase the destructive power of this black iron sword and reduce its weight, you actually added a small amount of mysterious pattern steel inside. Indeed, after adding mysterious pattern steel, this black iron sword is 20% lighter than a regular black iron sword. However, the fusion between mysterious pattern steel and black iron isn't optimal, easily causing damage to the structure of the sword's body. To prevent damage to the sword's body structure, you had to add some azure radiance stone. Alas, Azure Radiance Stone can indeed improve the fusion between the two, increasing the fusion between mysterious pattern steel and black iron by a factor of 1, preventing damage to the structure of the sword's body. However, Azure Radiance Stone seems to be a material with extremely weak true Qi endurance. This immediately caused the black iron sword's own true Qi endurance to drop significantly. These things can be overlooked. But to enhance the black iron sword's attack power, you even added a second-order armor-piercing array on top. Big brother, didn't the mentor who taught you array formations tell you that Azure Radiance Stone isn't suitable as an array foundation stone? Azure Radiance Stone's true Qi endurance is weak, preventing the armor-piercing array's effects from being fully utilized. Furthermore, after true Qi accumulates in the array patterns for a long time, the backlash from the array intensifies the damage to the sword's body structure. A perfectly good black iron sword, and you refined it into this ghastly state. I didn't call it trash, I only said it was so-so, already taking your feelings into consideration. I didn't expect you to be ungrateful and yell at this young master. What am I supposed to say? Qin Chen shook his head repeatedly, looking utterly speechless. His face flushed red. Leng Mo was covered in sweat from being told off, so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Damnable brat, what nonsense are you spouting? True, what you said does have some merit. Azure Radiance Stone isn't really suitable as an array foundation, and its true Qi endurance is indeed relatively poor. However, after adding it, the mysterious pattern steel and black iron perfectly fuse. HMPH. In this way, the black iron sword's weight is reduced, and the user can unleash at least 10% more power with the same strength. The so-called, one cannot have both fish and bear's paw. Refining weapons is inherently about the trade-offs and fusion between various materials. This old man compared dozens of materials before finally settling on Azure Radiance Stone, simply because it's already the best possible outcome. If you insist on harping on this point, then this old man has nothing to say. Could it be that you can find a better refining method? At this moment, Leng Mo no longer dared to regard Qin Chen as an ordinary person. What Qin Chen said was indeed very reasonable. In fact, there were many things he had thought of, but with his abilities, that was all he could think of. For him, this was already the best refining method. Qin Chen's insistence on finding fault with it made him extremely dissatisfied. Anyone can find fault, even a weapon refining apprentice can find some flaws in the weapons he refines. But the key is whether they can find a solution. Merely pointing out mistakes is just armchair strategy, a laughingstock. Qin Chen heard this and smiled disdainfully. Who said I don't have a solution? What about it? You can't solve it either, right? Since you can't find a better method, then what's wrong with me refining it this way? Leng Mo said directly and coldly. Suddenly, he froze, like an old duck with its neck grabbed, stunned for a long time before exclaiming in astonishment. What? You have a solution? His eyeballs were bulging, his face filled with disbelief. What a joke. The characteristics of Azure Radiance Stone and mysterious pattern steel were problems that had plagued weapon refiners in the Northwest Five Kingdoms for many years. He had consulted many historical records but had never found an answer. Throughout the entire Great Qi Kingdom, even the Hall Master of the Great Qi Kingdom's weapon hall probably wouldn't know how to deal with it. Qin Chen, a mere child, could solve it. Ha ha ha. Brat, you need to think before you spout nonsense. You can solve it. It'd be a miracle if you could solve it. Do you know how complex and difficult this is? Remove the Azure Radiance Stone, reduce the amount of mysterious pattern steel by 30%, and add a small amount of Whirl Rock and Iron Devouring Essence. Try again. Qin Chen said calmly. Add Whirl Rock and Iron Devouring Essence. Ha ha ha. What a joke. Although Whirl Rock can enhance the activity of true Qi, it's not a weapon refining material at all, because Whirl Rock's characteristics are extremely unstable. It's generally only used in array discs. As for Iron Devouring Essence, it's even, While saying this casually, Leng Mo's face was full of disdain and mockery, but suddenly, his expression froze, as if he had seen a ghost. Whirl Rock and Iron Devouring Essence. This, just as he said, Whirl Rock's characteristics are extremely unstable and are generally not used for weapon refining, only as a raw material for array discs, because of its unstable characteristics. But what if iron devouring essence is added? Iron devouring essence can neutralize the activity of whirl rock, stabilizing it. At the same time, iron devouring essence and black iron are materials from the same origin. Combining the two can better showcase the characteristics of black iron. Most importantly, whirl rock is a basic material for making array discs. Its enhancement of the array not only has no hindering effect but also a promoting effect. The more Leng Mo thought about it, the more excited he became. In the end, his mouth opened wide, as if he could swallow an egg, looking at Qin Chen as if he had seen a ghost. How did this kid think of this method? It might really work. How is this possible? Leng Mo was simply going crazy. With his knowledge, purely from a theoretical point of view, the two materials that Qin Chen proposed were more than 10 times stronger than the azure radiance stone he used. Leng Mo's performance also stunned everyone present. What's going on? Why did Master Leng Mo suddenly stop talking? What a brilliant idea. In this way, it might really work. Mixing whirl rock and iron devouring essence and then adding them to weapon refining is simply amazing. Whirl rock is only used for making array discs. No one has ever thought of using it in weapon refining before. How did this kid come up with it? My heavens! Among those present, Leng Mo wasn't the only one with attainments in weapon refining. After careful consideration, someone immediately exclaimed, "This is definitely a stroke of genius. An unprecedented breakthrough in the history of weapon refining. How is it? Just now, this young master said that the treasured weapon you refined was so-so, already giving you a lot of face. What qualifications do you have to cause trouble for this young master here? Step aside. This young master has important matters to attend to and has no time to argue with you," Qin Chen said indifferently. Wait a minute. HMPH. What you said does have some merit, but it's just armchair strategy. Who can know whether it's true or not? Seeing that Qin Chen was about to leave, Leng Mo finally recovered from his shock and jumped up like a rabbit. Let Qin Chen leave. That wouldn't do. Once Qin Chen left, how could he, Leng Mo, continue in the weapon refining world after today's matter spread? How could he continue to show off in the Great Qi Kingdom? No, he absolutely couldn't let him leave. Then what do you want? You can't expect me to forge a treasure weapon for you on the spot, right? I have limited time. I don't have time to waste with you. Get out of the way. Qin Chen's face darkened. What's going on? I've already made myself so clear. Why is Leng Mo still being so unreasonable and difficult? He's really not playing along. Humph, it's not that I, Leng Mo, am unwilling to give you face, but how can you prove that what you're saying is correct? Prove it. Qin Chen was speechless. He had already explained so clearly. What more proof did he need? Any weapon refiner should know that what he said was correct. Glancing at the rusty sword in his hand, Qin Chen suddenly had an idea. All right, I have an idea. He raised the rusty iron sword. Let's use the treasure weapon you forged to clash against the iron sword in my hand. We'll see whose weapon is sturdier. If the treasure weapon you forged breaks, then stop being unreasonable and immediately get out of the way. How about it? Silence. The lively second floor instantly quieted down. Really? Did I hear wrong? This kid wants to use the rusty sword in his hand to clash against Master Leng Mo's second-tier treasure weapon. To see whose weapon is sturdier. What a joke. Everyone knew that the rusty sword in Qin Chen's hand was just obtained from a treasure gamble. All they saw was a surface covered in rust, almost unable to see a smooth side. With the passage of time, it had long lost its original appearance. Such a broken sword, they were afraid it would break if it even chopped wood. Yet, he actually wanted to clash it against Master Leng Mo's second-tier treasure weapon. Was Qin Chen crazy? What did you say? The originally exasperated Leng Mo almost exploded when he heard Qin Chen's words. To compare a rusty sword with the second-tier treasure weapon he forged was too insulting. Even if he won, there would be no glory in it. Wouldn't that mean his treasure weapon was only worthy of being compared to such a broken sword? What? You didn't understand. Didn't you say I couldn't prove it? Wouldn't it be clear if we clashed the two treasure weapons together? If the treasure weapon you forged breaks, it would naturally mean that the quality of your treasure weapon is ordinary. If my treasure weapon breaks, it would naturally mean that I was talking nonsense. You're still a second-tier weapon refiner. You don't even understand such a simple principle. Or are you saying you don't dare to compare? Qin Chen glanced at Leng Mo, wearing an expression that seemed to say, "Are you afraid to compare?" "I'm afraid your sister." His eyes widened, and Leng Mo was about to vomit blood. What was there for him to be afraid of? "All right. Since you want to compare like this, I will fulfill your wish. When the time comes, I'll see what else you have to say." He casually picked up the ice-glazed sword, and Leng Mo suddenly activated his true energy. Boom! The ice-glazed sword suddenly bloomed with a dazzling white light. Bone-chilling coldness swept through the hall like a blizzard, startling the crowd into retreating and looking horrified. What terrifying coldness! The true energy in my body is almost unable to circulate from the cold. As expected of a second-tier treasure weapon forged by Master Leng Mo. How could such a treasure weapon crack in battle? Qin Chen must be talking nonsense. The crowd was shocked. The coldness emanating from the ice-glazed sword made everyone solemn and grave. Hee, kid, take this. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Leng Mo roared angrily. In order to achieve a better effect, he almost held nothing back, pushing his heaven-level true energy to the extreme, and swung the ice-glazed sword, fiercely slashing at the rusty sword in Qin Chen's hand. Bang! Violent cold air swept through, turning into a tornado that rushed to the roof. The momentum startled everyone into taking a cold breath. Crack! At the same time, a shattering sound clearly entered everyone's ears. Ha ha ha! Kid, what else do you have to say? To dare compare treasure weapons with me, you're simply an old man hanging himself, courting death. In the cold wind, Leng Mo laughed wildly. The depression that had been suppressed in his heart seemed to be released instantly, and he laughed without restraint. But as he laughed, the atmosphere in the hall suddenly became extremely strange, as if something bad was about to happen. Turning his head, he found that Qin Chen was looking at him with a cold smile, as if he were looking at a clown. Anger. Leng Mo became furious again. This kid was about to die, yet he still dared to look at himself with such eyes. He would definitely teach him a lesson later. But he suddenly felt that something was wrong, because he suddenly noticed that everyone in the hall was staring at the ice-glazed sword in his hand with wide, astonished eyes, as if they had seen a ghost. One of the martial artists even stretched out his right hand, pointed over, and stammered, "Master Leng Mo, your sword. What's wrong with my sword?" His heart sank instantly. He lowered his head sharply and saw that the previously intact sword body, as white as jade, was actually covered with dense cracks that were still spreading. Bang! The sword body suddenly exploded, and countless broken sword blades came crashing down on Leng Mo's head. He flusteredly tried to block, but was still grazed by many sword blades. The robes on his body were riddled with holes, like a beggar, and a lot of his hair was cut off, turning him into a plucked chicken. Sure enough, it exploded. The true energy really backfired. The crowd was dumbfounded, their mouths wide enough to fit an egg. Impossible. This is impossible. An accident. It must be an accident. Unable to believe his eyes, Leng Mo was furious. He grabbed the blazing flame sword and, with a boom, a scorching flame true energy swept out, and he slashed down fiercely. Crack! The second blazing flame sword also shattered. In contrast, the rusty sword in Qin Chen's hand was unscathed, as if it had cut through a piece of tofu. Heavens! Can you not play with me like this? Leng Mo was about to cry. Was this still a rusty sword? How could it be like a divine weapon when chopped on it? I don't believe in evil anymore. He picked up the third profound iron sword, and Leng Mo's robes bulged all over his body. He pushed the true energy in his body to the extreme, and the entire gathering treasure pavilion seemed to be swept by a level 10 gale. The profound iron sword was the hardest of the three swords. Even a third-tier treasure weapon could compete with it in terms of hardness alone. Leng Mo didn't believe that this time, he still couldn't break the rusty sword in Qin Chen's hand. Clang! This strike was even worse. The entire profound iron sword broke directly, and half of the sword body pierced into the ceiling of the second floor of the gathering treasure pavilion with a thud, piercing through the ceiling. Holding half of the broken sword, Leng Mo's face turned blue and white, completely dumbfounded. This is what you call a treasure weapon. You still don't admit it. You had to bring it over to slap my face. Why bother? Shaking his head, Qin Chen picked up the rusty sword and gently blew on it. There wasn't even half a nick on the rusty sword, not even a bit of rust had fallen off. It was completely intact. Carrying the rusty sword, Qin Chen left the gathering treasure pavilion with Lin Qian and Zhang Ying. This time, no one dared to stop them in the slightest. It wasn't until Qin Chen's figure completely disappeared that Grandmaster Yang and the others suddenly woke up. That rusty sword is definitely extraordinary, it's a true divine weapon. Grandmaster Yang roared, feeling like he wanted to bash his head against the wall and die. He originally thought that Qin Chen had excitedly gambled out a rusty sword, thinking that he had made a mistake, but who knew that this was the real divine weapon? Even a treasure weapon like the profound iron sword could be instantly cut off. A third-tier treasure weapon couldn't do that. It was at least at the fourth tier or above. My heavens! If he had known this, he should have kept this sword no matter what. Grandmaster Yang's heart was bleeding. It wasn't just Master Yang. Now, everyone else understood as well. The rusty sword in Qin Chen's hand was definitely a powerful treasure, otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to break the treasure refined by Master Leng Mo so easily. It was laughable that they hadn't been able to see it before and had thought Qin Chen had made a mistake, betting on a piece of trash. I really didn't expect Qin Chen to have such insight into refining. No wonder Master Liang Yu of the equipment hall paid so much attention to him during the year-end exam not long ago. That's right. Could this child be a disciple of Master Liang Yu? Otherwise, how could he have such insights at such a young age? A disciple of Master Liang Yu? That's unlikely. Although Master Liang Yu is a refining genius of the equipment hall, he only recently broke through to become a second-tier refiner. His attainments in refining are probably even worse than Master Leng Mo's. How could Qin Chen be his disciple? That's true. The nobles who had participated in the year-end exam and knew about Qin Chen's relationship with Master Liang Yu spoke up one after another. What? Are you saying that Qin Chen just now is the Qin Chen who won the year-end exam at Tianxing Academy? Hearing everyone's words, Leng Mo, who had been standing there in a daze, suddenly jumped up and roared in shock. His body trembled like a sieve, as if he had heard something unbelievable. That's right, Master Leng Mo, didn't you know? Someone asked in confusion. It's him, it's actually him. No wonder I felt so familiar with the name Qin Chen just now. So it was him. Leng Mo looked regretful and roared to the sky, I'm such an idiot. He rushed downstairs, but Qin Chen's figure was nowhere to be found. Damn it, I'm an idiot, I'm really an idiot. Leng Mo muttered to himself, back in the gathering treasure pavilion, with a face full of self-blame. Liang Yu and he were both second-tier refiners in the equipment hall. How could he not know about Liang Yu's achievements? Liang Yu was famous only because he had broken through to become a second-tier refiner at the age of 30, making him the #1 genius of the equipment hall with unlimited potential. In terms of true refining strength, Liang Yu, who had just broken through, was far inferior to him, an old refiner who had been immersed in the second-tier realm for more than 10 years. However, in a recent exchange with Liang Yu, he discovered that Liang Yu's attainments in refining were comparable to his, and even slightly better. This shocked him and he couldn't figure it out. Later, he secretly investigated and found that Liang Yu's rapid progress was entirely due to a refining session with Qin Chen of the Dingwu King's mansion not long ago. Since then, Liang Yu's attainments in refining had been like a different person. Combined with what he had heard about Liang Yu's performance at the Tianxing Academy year-end exam and his standing up for Qin Chen, Leng Mo became increasingly suspicious. And today, the refining attainments that Qin Chen displayed made him completely understand that Liang Yu's breakthrough was entirely due to Qin Chen. I'm really an idiot. If I had known that this person was the Qin Chen, how could I have offended him? Leng Mo felt like he wanted to bang his head against a wall. Now it was all over. He had originally wanted to get to know the other party, but now, it was all ruined. Yan Yan, if it weren't for you, how could I have offended young Master Chen? And you little bastards, just wait for me, I'm so angry. His hair stood on end, and Leng Mo couldn't wait to slap Lian Peng and the others to death, and he was also full of hatred for Yang Yan. If they hadn't fanned the flames as soon as he arrived, how could he have gotten hot-headed and offended young Master Chen without figuring out who the other party was? Thinking of this, Leng Mo felt a little tearful and left with a wave of his sleeve in anger. Seeing the contrast in Leng Mo's behavior, everyone was dumbfounded. Could it be that Master Leng Mo was stimulated and went crazy? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go quickly. The others didn't want to stay any longer either. Qin Chen had just said that the remaining items in the Gathering Treasure Pavilion were basically trash. Originally, they were still a little skeptical, but now, they had no choice but to believe it. Didn't they see that Master Yang Yan and Master Leng Mo had both been humiliated in front of this young man? Because of this incident, the reputation of the Gathering Treasure Pavilion was greatly damaged. Qin Chen naturally didn't know what happened later at the Gathering Treasure Pavilion. At this time, he and Lin Qian and Zhang Ying had already arrived at the gate of the Bloodline Sacred Ground. Young Master Chen, hasn't your bloodline already awakened? What are we doing here? Along the way, Lin Qian and Zhang Ying admired Qin Chen very much and had been chattering for a long time. I'm not here to awaken my own bloodline, but for you guys. Originally, Qin Chen's second task today was to go to the Pill Pavilion, but in order to find out the abnormality in Lin Qian and Zhang Ying's bodies, he had no choice but to come to the Bloodline Sacred Ground first. Us. Young Master Chen, you're not joking, are you? Lin Qian and I awakened our bloodlines a long time ago. Cough. Cough. To put it bluntly, it was 2 years earlier than you. Could it be a mistake? Zhang Ying said in confusion. You'll know when you come in. Qin Chen was too lazy to explain and directly stepped into the Bloodline Sacred Ground. Hey, hey, Lin Qian and Zhang Ying shouted a few times, but in the end, they had no choice but to follow Qin Chen in. As soon as they entered the Bloodline Sacred Ground, a burst of clamor came, and the three of Qin Chen were stunned by the scene in front of them. They saw an extremely long queue in the hall, with as many as 100 people gathered here, clamoring endlessly. May I ask when Master Chen Fan will be available? I would like to ask Master Chen Fan to perform a baptism for my son. My son is 14 years old this year and has already undergone 2 baptisms, but he has not awakened his bloodline. Is there any hope of awakening his bloodline? Make way, I am from the Duan family of the royal capital. May I ask if Master Li Wenyu is available today? I have an appointment with Master Chen Fan, let me go in first. Having an appointment doesn't mean anything, don't you understand? First come, first served. Who's squeezing my ass in the back? If you squeeze again, believe it or not, I'll fuck you up. All kinds of noisy sounds were endless, and Qin Chen was dumbfounded. What's going on? Why are there so many people in the Bloodline Sacred Ground today? The last time he came, it wasn't this lively at all. Little brother, are you here to awaken your bloodline too? An old man in front looked at Qin Chen and shook his head. Wasn't there a year-end exam at Tianxing Academy the previous 2 days? So many bloodline masters in the Bloodline Sacred Ground were busy with this matter and stopped the Bloodline Awakening service for several days. Today, it's reopened, so there are naturally more people. It's more than that. We've heard that during the year-end exam at Tianxing Academy yesterday, there was a 15-year-old student named Qin Chen who had awakened many times before but had not awakened his bloodline. Everyone thought he would not be able to awaken it, but unexpectedly, he succeeded in the end. Stimulated by this news, the 15, 16, and 17-year-olds in the royal capital who had never awakened the bloodlines before have all come back to receive baptism again, hoping for a miracle and bloodline awakening. Little brother, looking at the age of the 3 of you, you are also 15 or 16 years old, right? Are you also here to try your luck? Hearing this, Qin Chen touched his nose. He didn't expect the Bloodline Sacred Ground to be so popular today, and he was actually the culprit. Quiet, everyone. The service desk at the Bloodline Holy Ground was a scene of utter chaos. The servers were swamped, and Lin Xinru, who had been promoted to supervisor, shouted at the top of her lungs to maintain order, but no one listened. In her anger, she slammed her hand on the service counter. The loud bang instantly silenced the entire hall. Did you all hear me? Quiet. What's with all the noise? Line up. 3 lines. Anyone who tries to cut in line won't be seeing any masters today. I'm the deputy director of the Wangdu Procuratorate. I need to see Master Li Wenyu. Before Lin Xinru could finish speaking, a middle-aged man in official robes pushed his way through the crowd, shoving aside a server who tried to stop him, and strode to the front of the service desk, speaking with arrogance. Her face darkened, and Lin Xinru could no longer contain herself. She opened her mouth and roared, "Get lost." "What did you say?" The middle-aged man's face turned grim. "I am the deputy director of the security department of the Wangdu Procuratorate. How dare a mere server like you? How dare my foot? So what if you're a deputy director of the Procuratorate? One more word and I'll have you kicked out on your backside. If you're so capable, go find Master Li Wenyu in your own time. Damn it, you all think I'm a pushover, don't you? Get back in line. If you anger me, you won't be getting a number today." The deputy director of the Procuraturate's face flushed red. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he shut his mouth and sheepishly joined the queue. Just as Lin Xinru had said, if he were truly capable, he could have arranged a private meeting with the master instead of squeezing into the crowd to queue here. Seeing this scene, everyone else quieted down and lined up obediently. They had all seen the deputy director of the Procuratorate get a thorough dressing down. If they angered her, they would be thrown out in a heartbeat. Watching Lin Xinru's explosive temper, Qin Chen smiled slightly. Just a few days ago, this little girl was as gentle as a rabbit. He hadn't seen her for half a month, and she had become so fierce. Without queuing, Qin Chen walked straight towards the service desk. Young Master Chen, Lin Tian and Zhang Ying were startled. They had just seen the deputy director of the Procuratorate get scolded. If young Master Chen went up like that, wouldn't he be torn to shreds? They quickly followed him, terrified. Are these three little brats looking for death, daring to cut in line? Hee, they're going to be in trouble. Let's see how he dies later. The others watched with schadenfreude. As expected, a server saw that their supervisor had just ordered everyone to line up, yet these three teenagers ignored her completely. She frowned and scolded, "Which family are you three kids from? Hurry up and get to the back of the line." Hee, we're not here for the baptism, but... Qin Chen was about to explain when he was interrupted. "I don't care if you're here for the baptism or not. Get to the back of the line now. Honestly, young people these days have no manners at all. What? You're not leaving? Do I have to drag you out?" The server glared, looking like she wanted to devour them whole. "Young Master Chen, let's just go queue up," Lin Tian and Zhang Ying pleaded, terrified. Following young Master Chen had broadened their horizons and was certainly exciting, but their hearts couldn't take it. What kind of place was this? The bloodline holy ground. It was nothing like the Jupao auction house. No matter how powerful the Jupao auction house was, it was just a business, and they couldn't treat customers too badly. But the bloodline holy ground was different. If they said they would kick you out, not even the Heavenly King could stop them. After being thoroughly scolded, Qin Chen was speechless. He reached into his pocket, about to pull out his gold guest token, when a surprised and somewhat doubtful voice rang in his ear. "Chen. Young Master Chen." Turning his head, he saw Lin Xinru looking at him with excitement. "It really is you, young Master Chen. What brings you to the bloodline holy ground today?" Lin Xinru trembled with excitement. She knew very well how she had become the supervisor. Wasn't it because she had served this young man last time, inadvertently taking him to the awakening room reserved for the president, that she was where she was today? That day, when young Master Chen left, the president himself escorted him out of the bloodline holy ground. Steward Lu Tong, who had offended him, was immediately dismissed and sent packing. As for herself, after resting at home for 2 days, she returned to find herself the hall supervisor. All of this was because of serving the young man in front of her. How could she not be excited? Hee, long time no see, Qin Chen smiled. "Young Master Chen, do you have any important business today?" "I'll arrange it for you," Lin Xinru squeezed to the front of the crowd and said excitedly to Qin Chen. The server who had previously yelled at Qin Chen turned green with fear. What was the background of the young man whom their supervisor addressed so respectfully as young Master Chen? Lin Qian and Zhang Ying were also dumbfounded. This. No wonder young Master Chen was so confident and certain. It turned out he knew the supervisor of the bloodline holy ground. That explained it. I'd like an awakening room. These two are my friends. Can you arrange it? Qin Chen said. So they're young Master Chen's friends. Hello, little brothers. Lin Xinru smiled sweetly at Lin Qian and Zhang Ying, making their eyes go wide. Lin Xinru was 18 years old this year, with a very cute and charming appearance. Dressed in a white dress, she looked like a fairy. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying had never seen such a beautiful woman before. They couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Young Master Chen was indeed young Master Chen. He had managed to get the female supervisor of the bloodline holy ground without anyone noticing. He was simply a role model for us, an idol. Hello, sister-in-law. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying blurted out in unison. PFFT. Qin Chen almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What were these two up to? Sister-in-law. Who was their sister-in-law? What nonsense are you two talking about? Qin Chen scolded. We misspoke. Young Master Chen, don't mind. And don't mind. Beautiful lady, Lin Qian and Zhang Ying said repeatedly, looking at Qin Chen with an expression that said, we understand, no need to hide it, making Qin Chen want to give them both a knuckle sandwich. Seeing this, Lin Xinru covered her mouth and smiled, glancing shyly at Qin Chen. It had to be said that Qin Chen was quite good looking, the kind that grew on you. But what was even more striking about him was his otherworldly aura, which stirred Lin Xinru's heart and made her face flush red. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying saw this scene and looked at Qin Chen with mischievous smiles, as if to say, how are you going to explain this? Let's go. Lowering her head to hide her embarrassment, Lin Xinru led the way. The group headed towards the interior of the bloodline holy ground. What's going on? She was just saying everyone had to line up, and now someone's cutting in line. What kind of rules are these? Yeah. How are we supposed to queue like this? What's going on? Seeing Qin Chen and the others being led away by Lin Xinru as soon as they stepped forward, many people immediately began to complain loudly. What's going on? This woman was just saying everyone had to queue, and now she's taking people to cut in line. This is outrageous. HMPH. Young Master Chen is a distinguished guest with our Bloodline Sacred Grounds Gold Guest Token. If you have the ability, you should also produce a VIP token. Besides, what's wrong with me, your mother, cutting in line with my people? If you want to line up, then line up. If you don't want to, then get lost. Lin Xinru glared at the crowd and snorted angrily. Gold guest token. This young man. Everyone was stunned, their eyes bulging out like chicken eggs. Isn't the gold guest token rumored to be the most prestigious VIP token of the Bloodline Sacred Ground? Even the patriarchs of the various major families in the royal capital might not possess one. How could this young man have it? What is the background of this child? So it's a gold guest token VIP from the Bloodline Sacred Ground. It's understandable. This esteemed guest, take care and watch your step. The crowd immediately changed their attitude, smiling obsequiously. The waiter who had previously reprimanded Qin Chen stumbled, almost bursting into tears. Heavens! I actually shouted at a gold guest token VIP from the Bloodline Sacred Ground just now. Will my entire family be exterminated tonight? The awakening room from last time should be available, right? Qin Chen asked halfway. Lin Xinru smiled slightly and said, that awakening room is naturally not available to other bloodline masters, but you're an exception, young Master Chen. Guild leader Dongfang King had explicitly instructed that if young Master Chen were to come again, he could freely use his exclusive awakening room. Inside the awakening room, you guys hold the bloodline stones, and then listen to my instructions and fully activate your bloodlines, Qin Chen said in a deep voice as he placed 2 bloodline stones into Lin Qian and Zhang Ying's hands. Although Lin Qian and Zhang Ying didn't understand what Qin Chen wanted to do, they still grasped the bloodline stones. Buzz! The bloodline meter in front of the 2 of them quickly lit up. Under Qin Chen's urging, beams of milky white light enveloped Lin Qian and Zhang Ying. On the bloodline meter, Various indicators soared rapidly, and countless array patterns lit up to their maximum, like a high-load operating machine, emitting a dazzling glow. At the same time, the bloodline stones in their hands also began to glow. It was then that countless white light spots appeared in the bloodline stone in Lin Qian's hand. These light spots shone with a gray-red light, occasionally gathering together, changing into various forms, like a cloud of smoke. Seeing this scene, Qin Chen immediately revealed a look of surprise. It's actually a netherfire attribute bloodline, and the bloodline form is still Death Grey Cloud. No wonder Lin Qian's cultivation improved so quickly after practicing my cultivation method. A Death Grey Cloud form bloodline with a netherfire attribute is simply a perfect match. Turning his head to look at Zhang Ying, he saw countless hazy threads appearing on the bloodline stone in Zhang Ying's hand. These threads constantly intertwined and tangled together, eventually transforming into a state of scale-like rock layers. These scale-like rock layers constantly shattered and then merged, as if possessing life. The look of surprise on Qin Chen's face grew even stronger. Petrification bloodline, and it's an undying scale cloud form, this. Qin Chen exclaimed in shock. After a long time, he calmed down. All right, you can stop now, he said. Turning off the bloodline meter, Qin Chen was speechless. His two brothers had bloodlines that were more incredible than the other. How could these two types of bloodlines exist in this small great Qi state? It was too unbelievable. Young Master Chen, what netherfire attribute and petrification bloodline? Lin Qian's and my bloodlines are a rock bloodline and what seems to be a flame fire bloodline, Zhang Ying asked with a puzzled face. Lin Qian, who was beside him, was also confused. They couldn't understand what Qin Chen was saying at all. Their bloodlines had already been detected 2 years ago. The bloodline master who tested them had clearly told them that their bloodlines were rock bloodline and flame fire bloodline, respectively. This was common knowledge. Rock bloodline, flame fire bloodline. Qin Chen shook his head. Your bloodlines are definitely not rock bloodline and flame fire bloodline, because both of these bloodlines are only mortal grade bloodlines, but your bloodlines both belong to the king grade. If you have to name them, Lin Qian, yours should be called Death Netherfire bloodline, and Zhang Ying, yours should be called Undying Petrification bloodline. King grade bloodline. Lin Qian and Zhang Ying couldn't help but gasp. They had naturally heard that bloodlines were divided into mortal, profound, and king grades, but the strongest bloodline in the entire Great Qi state was currently only 4th grade, never exceeding the profound grade. And their bloodlines were actually the most top-tier king grade. How was this possible? It felt unreal to even think about it. Don't think it's impossible. Your bloodlines are indeed king grade bloodlines, and they also belong to the hidden bloodlines among the king grade. It's normal for ordinary bloodline masters not to be able to see your true bloodline attributes, Qin Chen said. However, Qin Chen continued, king grade bloodlines only represent your bloodline's future potential, with the possibility of reaching the most top tier 9th grade. It doesn't mean that you will definitely reach 9th grade. You should be clear about this distinction. Really? Qin Chen's words were like a thunderbolt from the blue to Lin Qian and Zhang Ying, and they were full of strange expressions. This was too incredible. All the instructors at Tianxing Academy, as well as the bloodline masters who had tested them, had told them that their bloodlines were just the most ordinary rock bloodline and flame fire bloodline. How could they become king grade bloodlines when they got to young Master Chen? And they were still hidden bloodlines among the king grade. What kind of ghost was that? Moreover, when did young Master Chen actually become a bloodline master? Why didn't they know anything about it before? Young Master Chen, you're not trying to trick us, are you? Zhang Ying had a strange look on his face, and suddenly said, oh, I understand. Young Master Chen, you must be retaliating against us for calling that beauty, sister-in-law, just now. Why are you so petty? Don't worry, we will definitely not tell Princess Lingshan about this. Zhang Ying winked. Tell you head. Qin Chen couldn't bear it any longer and gave him a hard knock on the head. A large bump instantly swelled up on Zhang Ying's head, and he cried out in pain. He said in a deep voice, because the level of your two bloodlines is too high, you must cultivate techniques that are highly compatible with your bloodline attributes. Only then will your strength improve quickly, and your future achievements will definitely be amazing. But if you only cultivate ordinary techniques, then the speed will be much slower, even inferior to ordinary geniuses. Seeing Qin Chen's serious look, Zhang Ying didn't dare to make trouble anymore. He and Lin Tian exchanged a glance, and they vaguely felt that what Qin Chen said was probably true. With a troubled expression, Zhang Ying said dejectedly, "But the families of Lin Tian and I are not too strong. The strongest technique in the family is only lower profound grade, and it's not very compatible with our bloodlines. Unless we can get into the top 4 in the next academy year-end examination, we will have the opportunity to enter the academy's library to choose techniques." Speaking of this, the two of them had bitter expressions.